building your business. This is Ignite session hour 2. Make sure you have your placards up in front of you. Wanted to let you know that today will be a little bit different. Dave's coming in early, so we're going to let him just kind of take it off. Dave Hastings has been in the business a while, one of our top producers in the office. So he's just going to have at it, then we're going to kind of back in and go through the stuff a little bit later on. So Dave, go ahead and enjoy.
Thank you. Easy. So first of all, welcome. Thank you for taking time out of your day. My name is Dave Hastings. I've been in this office now for about 5 years. I've been in real estate for 31 years. This is all I've done since I've been out of college. Now, my business has evolved over the years. I've done for sale by owners, done expired listings, done a ton of cold calling, cold doors. So now my business is pretty much about 90% referral, if not a little bit more than that. There's not going to tell you which way is the best way. Everything works, it's just whatever works for you. Brian built his business on open houses. I have a mentor that I meet with on a regular basis up at Laguna Beach, and he built his business strictly up on open houses, just like Brian did. I hate open houses. I don't like doing them. He loves them. So, and it works out well for him. So you just got to find what you like. So this class isn't about what's the best way to prospect. This class is about building your business and your database. There is nothing more valuable as a real estate agent or any salesperson than your database. That's why I like this class. This is the basic foundation. By the way, just so that we're clear, I don't want to come across that I know everything. There's a lot to know. There's people in here know a lot more about real estate than I do. And this business isn't about learning about real estate. This business is about dealing with people, and people will do business with people they know, like, and trust. And your goal is to be the person that they know, like, and trust more than the next person that comes along. And if you do that, and you want an appointment against Brian, you actually have a shot. I love it. I love it. So, what was I going to say from that? You threw me for a loop. What did I want? Oh, so here's what I wanted. Here's the point I want to make it about the business. The great thing about this business, and this is something I've been doing this for for a long time. You don't have to be smart to do well in this business. Okay, it isn't about trying to learn the newest gadget, the latest trick. This is a people business. And I know there's a young guy like Nathan in here, and all you guys come in and you're all millennials and you got all this techie stuff and whatever. I'm telling you, the more you get involved in that stuff, the less likely you are to survive this business. That's my personal opinion. This business is about, technology is great, it's a tool, but this business is all about, and always will be, about people. It's toes to toes, nose to nose, belly to belly, and it's always been that way, and that's what's gonna keep this keep this business going. So let's get right into it. I got to leave here at 1:45. So I'm going to talk kind of fast. I do anyway. And I welcome this class to be interactive. If anybody has any questions, you have comments, let me know. This is all about, I tell you, when I give it, so people ask me, why do I give this class? I don't get anything out of it. I got to take time out of my day to do it, prepare and come in here. But I'll tell you that every single time I've given this class, I get a gold nugget from somebody in this class that I take away and I implement into my business. And that's why I'm here, okay? So so again, going back to your database, that is your business. That's when you go down the road and you've got a book of business, you've got some value in your business, that's where the value is. So now that you've got this, we're going to talk about how do you get people in your database, who do you put in there, how do you qualify them, and then how do you follow up with them, and then when you do follow up with them, what do you say? Okay, simple enough? Okay, now I am going to encourage everybody in here to get some kind of back in the day, I literally used an 8x8 index card. I will tell you, I was the first guy in my company in San Diego. This was in Coldwell Banker, a pretty big company. I was the first guy that had a computer on my desk. Okay, now I didn't know what to do with it. Okay, when I took a computer class in college, and it was going way back, you're not going to relate to this at all, but I took a computer engineering class. It lasted about 3 weeks and said this wasn't for me. And the killer was our programming was Fortran. You remember this, Edward? You had a stack of cards with holes in them.
Yeah. Thanks, David.
Yeah. And you had to keep them in sequence. Well, I'm running from one class to the other, and something happened. I tripped over something. They fell out of my hands. I didn't bind them properly, whatever. And I just said, I'm out of here. This is not for me. But that's what a computer was like at that time. I bought a Macintosh when they first came out. I didn't know what to do with it. The MLS had barely gotten online with a computer at that time. At that time, we had these multiple listing books that would come out every other week, and they were about the size of a Sears catalog. So that was as techy as it got back then, but I just knew that I needed one to organize my database. But until then, I used an 8x8 system, and I just went through it, and it worked for me. Today, you've got technology, and you can deal with a lot more information than you could in the past. But as somebody once said, we're overwhelmed with information and we're starving for wisdom today in today's technology market. So today it's all about having, good information. So, so the first thing you want to do is, you want to figure out, you got to add people in your database. You got to have somebody in there, when you get a lead, what do you do with them? The guy tells me, hey, Richard, call me back in 2 weeks. Okay, where are you going to put that? Now, if you got one lead, it's easy, but the goal of the class is to try to get as many leads as possible, and then you want to quantify them and qualify them. The other main thing that you have to be very aware of is, how many people in here are in the business less than a year? Oh my gosh, the vast majority of you. Okay, so your biggest challenge, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, which you will, I know. Your biggest challenge as a new agent is going to be qualifying your lead, because you're going to have a lead. The guy's going to tell you, I'm interested, but if you dug a little deeper, you find out the guy, A, couldn't qualify, or B's got a home to sell, maybe it's in Minnesota somewhere, or, something else is going on, and you really don't have a lead. But because that's your only thing that you have right now, that's who you're going to work with and waste your time. Okay, am I right?
Buyers are not loyal right now either.
Buyers are not loyal at all. They're looking through Zillow, they're looking at Realtor.com, and they're going to contact whoever's on that sheet. And that's why it's important that you have a relationship with somebody. And that's what we're going to talk about. The better, when you get to a point in your business that you're dealing with people that know, like, and trust you, your quality of life in this business will skyrocket. Because as long as you're a commodity, and like Brian said, there's no buyer loyalty out there right now. As long as you're a commodity, you will burn out of this business, and you will get so frustrated. You'll work with somebody, showing them, 20, 30, 40 homes, and then somebody comes up and just say, hey, I got this house, and you could have represented them, but because you don't have a relationship with that person, and they just want to their goal is they just want to get a house. You can't blame them for that. You're out in the cold, and all that time and effort that you spent is out the window. So the first thing that we do is we want to build a database. Anybody want to volunteer we can do this as an example. Anybody want to volunteer? We'll walk you through on how to do that. Jonathan?
Yeah, I love it.
Jonathan, great, thank you. So how long have you been living in San Diego?
3 years.
3 years. Where'd you move from?
Houston.
Houston. Oh, okay. Good place to be from right now.
Good place to move from.
Boy, you might be the Messiah. Where's the real estate market going? You might want to stick around and talk to this guy. If you're looking for a team, he's probably going to hire you. Forecasting. So you've been here for 3 years. What brought you out here from Houston?
My parents moved out here when I was in college, and I liked it when I was visiting. We were looking at houses, so I decided I would move.
Okay,
out of Dodge.
Great. And how many people do you know in San Diego right now?
Probably somewhere around 200 to 300.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you get to know that many people that fast?
I have a pretty big volleyball family that I'm part of. I have a lot of friends that I partied with the first few years I was out here. Through a lot of different meetups I was a part of when I first came out.
Okay, so what are the biggest meetup groups that you're a part of right now?
Mainly the volleyball group was a meetup. Okay. There was a few others that I participated in.
Now, when you're saying meetup, are you talking about in person, or is this on the net?
It's a mobile app. It's a website, meetup.com.
Okay.
And so they post everything from corgi lovers to nerds who love programming to volleyball, just a bunch of people who meet up on
So how many people are in this group now? They all in San Diego?
This group's 310 people.
Okay, and are they all in San Diego?
Yeah.
Do they get together once a month or once every couple
About
months?
80 of us get together on Monday, Wednesday, Saturday.
And how many people show up on a Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday?
Monday and Wednesday is probably around 50 to 60. On Saturday is about 80.
So let's just say let's just use an average here.
I'm not gonna tell y'all where. You're all gonna try to take my people.
This is good stuff. By the way, this can apply to anybody that's doing this. We're gonna walk through this. This is just to get a general idea. Okay, what's the next?
It's near LA for any of you guys who
What's the next? What's the next biggest? What's the next biggest group that you're involved in?
I'd probably just say friends that I have in PV that I've met.
Okay, and how many are there?
Probably around 50.
50. Okay. All right. So there's anything. What other interests do you have?
So I was in a few sports leagues here. I know a bunch of people.
Okay.
Bobby. People are familiar with Bobby, so I know a bunch of people in Bobby.
Okay.
Jewish organizations.
Okay. Okay. We don't have to put Jewish, we can put religious. This will apply to everybody. All right. So you can see where I'm going with this. Okay. So now you've got this group. Okay. So this is a world according to Dave. This is not Keller Williams, whatever. So you feel free to chop me up when I'm gone. But here's what I would do if I were in your shoes. Okay. Because you're going with this. Now there's other people in town that may not know anybody. If you don't know anybody in town, then you got to get out and you got to do open houses. For sale by owners, expired, you got to look for stuff that's quick business, okay, fast, okay. That and then just build up your database as fast as you can. That's a different deal. This is more long term. The challenge with this is that in the short, you're going to have to work this really hard in the short term, because if you wait for this long term, you may be out of business. Brian is he's got an incredible farm going on, but if you ask him, it's not an overnight thing. It probably took him I don't know. Brian, how long did it take you to get your farm up and running, where you actually got consistent business out of it?
Year and a half.
And that's actually
Saturday
pretty
or
quick.
Sunday for the last 4 years.
Yeah, and that's actually pretty quick, a year and a half. Would you say so?
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
hit it really hard. There's like 2-3 pieces a month.
Yeah.
An open house there.
But you had to survive a year and a half of, he had other things going on, luckily, but, took him a year and a half to get that going. And if you have nothing else going on, a year and a half, you could be gone.
That's choosing one geographical location.
Yeah.
How
And
many
that's pretty
homes?
typical.
I chose it in part because I live there. Usually you want to work where you live. And also I chose it because of the price point and the turnover. You need to see who your competitors are too. Part of what I perceive in this business is I struggled for a long time as a buyer's agent. And once you actually move yourself as fast as you can and become a listing agent, then you'll survive in this business. You will not survive as a buyer's agent unless you're on the team.
That's right. Or you're a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Not a psychologist, you need a psychiatrist because you need the drugs. Because this is the hardest part of the business is this emotionally, financially, this is that knocks everybody out. Thanks, Brian. So here you've got this list, okay? So now you've got names, addresses, whatever. Now what you do is you start, now that you can quantify it, now you have to go through and qualify it, because having everybody in here is going to do you no good. Okay, so here's what will happen. The bad leads will hide the good leads. Okay, everybody get that? The bad leads will hide the good leads, okay? It's not about how many people you have in there, it's about the quality of the people. So what you're going to go in there is, Jonathan, there's a lot of scripts that are out there, but one of the ones you can use from Brian Buffini is what he calls his mayor campaign. If you had a friend or a relative that was looking to buy or sell a home, do you have anybody that you can call upon, to help you with all your real estate needs? They said, well, I know so-and-so. Well, great. I mean, how long has it been in business? Are you fully committed to them, or do I have a chance? Just like a title rep does when they come in. Okay. And then if they tell you, no, I don't have anybody, well, gosh, what would it take for me to be that person? Okay. And then you qualify them, because just because somebody, you know them really well, their mom might be a real estate agent or their dad. Okay. No matter how good of a friend you are,
Yeah.
it ain't going to happen. Now, I will tell you that I had a very good friend of mine whose sister was a real estate agent, and I made the assumption that if he ever bought anything, he'd go through her. He bought something and sold something, and he didn't go through her, and I found out afterwards that they hadn't talked in 5 or 6 years. So you got to qualify. I made an assumption, and I got burned on it, okay? So want to qualify everybody, you get that in, and you know, if you can get that to 250, and my guess is with this 250, when you qualify it, you're probably going to end up with about half of that. Okay.
Half of them
You're going to
as leads.
as not as leads, but as potential sources of business.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, if you had that many leads, you could. I wish the business was that simple. Okay. Now what's going to happen is you're going to qualify it to here. Okay. Now what's going to happen is anybody. In fact, let me change this. If I can do easy math, you'll see where I'm going with this. Okay. So I'm helping you now qualify your database. Is there everybody in here heard of the 80-20 rule, Pareto principle? Everybody familiar with that principle? Okay, so for those of you who aren't, the principle applies to everything in your life. Okay, 20% of the agents in this business are going to do 80% of the business. Okay, 20% of your efforts can produce 80% of your income. 20% of your clients are going to produce 80% of your total income. So out of this, your top 20 clients, so 20% is going to be 24 people. Okay. You get 24 people, and you spend all your time and energy with them, chances are you'll probably do close to 20 to 24 transactions a year. Okay. Now, most people think that that's 20% is their 20%. My experience has taught me that you got to take this down another 20%, and when you're really left with, it's about 8 people.
That's still great.
That's still great, but that's not. So now, if you want to do this exact opposite, so what you can do is you can say, so let's do this. Again, you know, I'm taking a systematic, strategic approach to this. I'm not shotgunning this. So let's just say that somebody's goal in here is to do 20 homes a year. Okay? So to do 20 homes, you're going to need, using that formula that I just did, I'm going to get myself here on a trap. I'm trying to do this quickly. Brian, your numbers are going to help me out. So you're going to need, is it 400? Okay, so you got 400, you got 80, and then you got 20% of that. There you go. So you need 400 people, and that'll get you 20 deals if you've got the right campaign. And we're going to talk about campaigns in a minute. That's doing this. Now, if you're doing what Brian's doing, he's working on a farm. It's a much bigger number. Okay, this is going with Jonathan's example. Okay, this is personal sphere. If you're doing for sale by owners, expireds, it's all going to depend on the numbers there are going to completely depend on your skill at presenting and prospecting, 100%. Okay, this all does also, but this is more relationship oriented. Brian, if somebody's interested in farming, that's to his expertise. That's not mine.
If I may say, Dave's way is the smarter way. It's less expensive. You can ramp your business up faster, and it's less expensive.
What is
doing it Dave's way instead of my way?
I spend no money on advertising. Okay, I don't work Saturdays and Sundays. I don't work Saturdays at all, and I work Sundays. Rarely do I have an appointment on a Sunday. Okay, but his way has worked for him. Okay, there's one of my and I'll give you. You know what? I'll share this with you guys because I think at the beginning of your career, it's good to try everything. So, 4th year in my business, now I was a business major in school and I was a finance guy, so numbers kind of worked for me, and I had somebody kind of point me in the direction. So, 4th year in the business, I think at that time, let's just say my income was, I think that's what it was. No, not 4th year. Let's just say 5th year in the business. It was somewhere. Let's call it here, 150. I found that out of that, about 100, I think it was 100 or 120 was from referral. And about 20, that must have been more than that, 40 of that was from expireds and FSBOs. And maybe I had 10 from door knocking. Okay, so here's what I found out when I went back and tracked it. 80% of my business came from 20% of my effort. Okay, which was referrals. Now I spent time doing it. Okay, but I spent a lot of time on the street. I was going through a pair of shoots every couple of months. I was doing a lot of door knocking, a lot of FSBOs, and a lot of expireds. And you know, and between the two of them, it was 50 grand. It was it was a fair amount of money. But here's what happened. That whatever it is, that was 80% of my time. And with 90% of my headache and frustration. Because what Brian was talking about before, I was a commodity to those people. Okay? If I was the guy right there on that door with them showing a house like you have to be right now, they went to somebody else. Okay? That was driving me crazy. And I looked at it and I said, well, wait a minute. If 80% of my income came from 20% of my effort, then that's my strength. Imagine if I spent 100% of my effort doing what I'm naturally good at or naturally enjoy. And for me, you guys have all done the DISC profile. You guys done that? Seen that? You know, that assessment, personality assessment. Okay, you'll get to that as well. You know, Jonathan will walk you through that. But one of the things that works for, you know, that's in my personality profile is that it's important for me to have fun doing the business. I have to enjoy it. I have to have fun doing it. That's why for a guy like me, I'm not wired to be a cold caller all day. I did it for 2 years. I don't know how I did it because I had to do it. And I just, you know, I was like that fly against the wall where I'm just going like this and all I have to do is go over here and I could have flown out the window. But because I felt like I just had to work and I had that mindset that the work is supposed to be hard, then I just kept doing it. And what I'm telling you is that what I've learned is that if I'm having fun, chances are it's much more effective for me and much more profitable because I'm going with my natural style. And John will talk to you more about your style. And because what happens is if you're doing things against your style, you create this, what they call in psychology, cognitive dissonance, which is a simple word is stress. Okay, so if you're a very shy person and then you have to be in front of a group all the time, you get stressed out. And sooner or later you get burnout from that. Does that make sense? All right, so I got us a little off track. Anybody have any comments on this at all, or anybody want to ask or share anything? Or yes, Justin. You're looking at it. It's me and one assistant.
Okay. Second question: do you really like Brian Buffini's scripts?
I do. Yeah, and I will tell you that I'm not saying this. He knows it. Not saying this to name drop it. I used to be in a Remax office where Brian Buffini was one of the agents there. Right. In fact, Ed Ornstein and I'm trying to think who else was there. There's another agent, Rob Costello. We were all there when Brian was there, and Brian is the real deal. The Brian that you see on stage, if you guys have ever seen him, is the same Brian that was in the office. Yeah. And I used to, you know, and we became pretty good friends, and we had you know, he's just a lot funnier than I am, and he's a lot smarter than me. And he took this thing on the road, and he's got some great stuff. And to me, he's changed the whole perception and dynamics of his business. I like his style, and whatever he does, I mean, he's all about referral. But whatever he does, you can apply it to any part of this business. If it's expires, if it's farming, whatever. His message is universal. You know, it's all about, you know, the golden rule: just take care of the people take care of you. You know, it isn't complicated. You know, like I mentioned to you, my mentor, open houses. That's his business model. Okay, that's all he does. Doesn't farm, doesn't advertise, doesn't cold call, doesn't do expires. And he was the #1 agent worldwide for Harcourts last year. So it works. And the guy still has hair on his head. You know, and he's having fun. If you met him, you saw him in person when he was down here. Does Bob look like he's having fun? You know? And he travels around
here.
What's that?
He took a limo down here, a limo back.
That's right. He's on the phone back and forth, and you know, he's having fun, and he knows he's old school. That it's all about face to face, nose to nose, toes to toes, and that's what Brian does with open house. You know, that's the great thing about an open house is that you get to see people, and they get to see you, and you can develop rapport much faster face to face. And you're not going to develop rapport over email or text. It ain't going to happen. Okay. It's got to be face to face, and that's the beauty of an open house. It's a good question. Anybody else? Jonathan, did I answer your question? Give you some ideas at least.
I mean, it sounds like you have a pretty good idea about the conversions, and that's something I was wondering about. I've been told that it really depends on the person, but if you have any generally 20% seems to be your number. Any conversions for how many dials lead to how many contacts, which leads to how many leads, to how many appointments,
right,
to how many listing agreements, to transactions.
Okay, so it's going to depend on what you do. Brian can speak to you on what it would take on farming or open houses if you were doing that. If you're doing cold calling, I can tell you that 100 calls, 5 appointments, 1 deal. Okay, that's being good at it.
1 deal for every 100 calls.
Yeah. Okay, because you're going to get 5 appointments. One of those deals you're not going to want to take. Okay, one of those deals they're not going to want you, and then the other 3 they may pan out, but it could be a year or 2 down the road.
And for those 100 calls, do you include no answers?
No. When I say that's contacts,
100 contacts.
yeah, contacts. And whenever I used to do it, I used to leave messages. I figured a lot of people said, I don't leave messages. Now, also keep in mind, this is before the do not call list when I was doing this. Okay, now here's what's happened. Okay, and this is going to speak to Brian. Okay, what he's doing. Here's what's happened. When I got in the business, a lot of people didn't have answering machines. People had answering machines, but a lot of people didn't screen calls. Also, when I used to door knock, people were home, okay, and they answered the door. Now what's happened is everybody's got, as I put it, they've got not only a security gate around the house, figuratively speaking, but a moat and a guard dog, okay? So you can't, so first of all, there's more people today with husband and wife working than there ever was before. People with kids are busier. I mean, everybody that's, has got kids, you got one in soccer, one doing this, one doing that. I mean, you need more of a schedule for your kids than you do for your job. So nobody's home, nobody's answering the phone, everybody's screening the calls. So you trying to reach somebody at home, door knocking or cold calling is a lot harder than it's ever been, and a lot of people are doing it now. Back then, there weren't that many people doing it. People weren't doing mass mailing anymore. And I mean, today, people, when they get their mail, what do? They get it, they hold it over the trash can, boom, 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 boom. And if it's not somebody they know, they just toss it, okay? So all that stuff, to me, is a complete waste of time. Email spam, okay? That stuff's all, that was an idea that people came up with. The fax machines first came out, believe it or not, they used to spam on fax machines. Remember that? Even before email. Then it went to email and became, you could hit them, more is better was the number. And today over the internet, you see somebody on Facebook with, 1,000 friends. I mean, who has I've lived here 30 years. I don't have 1,000 friends on Facebook, And I don't get that, so nobody has that. So you have to figure out. That's why I said, most people are being overly optimistic when they say, 400 people, my 20% is, is going to be 80. So Dave says I can do 80 deals. Well, the truth is it's really, if they were honest about it and really crank this thing down, they take, 20% of that, and you're at 16. Okay, that's the real number. Okay, if you have to be honest about it. So going back, hang on just a second, Brian. So going back to where Brian's at. So here's the thing. Here's what the beauty of Brian is. Everybody else is going technology. Let me text. Let me do a massive text. Let me do a massive email blast. Let me go on the internet and get stuff. Let me go on Zillow, let me be Zillow's agent. Let me be Realtor.com's agent. Everybody's going that route, and those are the worst leads that are out there. I mean, you'll need a team just to filter that stuff. Okay, so everybody's going that route. He's going the other route. He's going face to face. Nose to nose, toes to toes. When people are looking for a house, who do you think they're going to work with? They're going to work with either him or some guy they don't know off the internet. I mean, it's not even close. He's going to follow up with, whatever he follows up with. I mean, I know Brian. Brian's on it. I mean, he gets a sniff of them. He's a bloodhound. He gets a hold of somebody, and they're not. If they're the real deal, he's going to find out. If they're the real deal, he's not letting them out of his sight. That's just the way it's going to be. But you can qualify somebody much faster. They're at the house. They've driven there. Okay, so they're a live wire, and you've got them right there, and you can build rapport with them right there on the spot. Am I right on that?
Yeah, absolutely. After a while, you start really getting a good sense of how, if they're time pickers, if they're neighbors, if they're time wasters, if they're actually serious. And ideally, at least what I do is I come from contribution, and if they accept that and they appreciate it, then they'll use you. If they're just greedy bastards and just take the information and leave, I don't work with them anyway.
Right. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I just noticed I got 15 minutes left, and I'm going to get to the last part, which is following up and nurturing that. Now you got this database. Now what do you do with it? So right on cue, he's going to come from a contribution of value. So they're in the neighborhood. He's going to give them, here's what homes are selling for. Here's what things are available. He's going to tell them, look, I work this area. I know everything that's coming up for sale even before anybody else does, because I got more of a market share than anybody else. So if you want to buy a home in your neighborhood, you want to be working with me. Because if you wait for it to pop up on the MLS, guess what? You're going to be competing with my own buyers, and guess who's going to get the nod? You know, I mean, he's not going to come out and say it like that, but that's the truth. That's the value that you bring to the table. Okay, and if I'm looking for a home in his neighborhood, I want to know who's the guy that's got his pulse on the market. I want to get something before it hits the MLS. Okay, so that's the you know, the value proposition that, you know, he brings. And he's also telling me, look, I live here. What better endorsement is there for a neighborhood than when you tell somebody I've chosen that I'm a real estate agent, I look everywhere. And this is a place that I've chosen to raise my own family in. I've made a commitment here with my wife. So now that you've got this database, and by the way, if you don't have anybody here not know what a CRM is? Anybody not know that term? It's a contact management system. So you've heard of Top Producer, Contactually, KW's got something, E-Edge. Whatever you do, if you don't have a database, just pack up and move out of the business right now because you're gonna get steamrolled. Okay? So you need some kind of a way to put everybody in. Now, once you got everybody in, now what do you do with them? Now, you know, Keller Williams talks about putting everybody in an 8x8, and which is what Jonathan's going to speak to, a 33 touch. So I'll tell you what my personal philosophy on this is. So, so they're saying contact people a minimum of 33 times a year, basically. Okay. So I'll just tell you what I do. I mail to everybody in my database. I have 700 people in my database. Unlike everybody else, I got more people in there than I should. And I go through, and every time I'm calling through it, I'm qualified. Anything change, anything move, you know, if somebody married so somebody just got a wife, I mean, everybody today's got a license, so that's the bad side of a strong market. So you're constantly qualifying. Doesn't mean that's a bad thing, because sometimes people get out of the business fast and get in. They get in, they sell their one home, and then they're gone. So I mail every month, okay? And I email every Friday, okay? So 52 weeks. So I'm doing more than that. I also call a minimum of 4 times a year, everybody. My A+ people, I will make it a point to see them if I can. I'll call them every 2 weeks. Okay, so what does this mean? So here's my thing on what you send out, like Brian was saying, you want to come from a point of contribution. If you email or mail something out about real estate every single week or month, you will get opted out, and they're going to take your stuff and put it in the trash can because it has no value to them. If you're selling me, you know, like if I own when I got my car, and the dealership keeps sending me, you know, hey, we've got this new deal on a car. I just bought one. I have no need for it. I just trash it. So what I include in here is I try to send things that people can use. I send out inspirational letters. You know, on Mother's Day, 101 ways to say, you know, I love you to your child. On graduation, I send, you know, for your kid's graduation, I send a graduation speech that Bill Gates gave, and Vince Lombardi gave. You know, things that they could use and, you know, bring value to their days. On the 52 weeks, so every Friday that I email 4 quotes, inspirational quotes every Friday. Now on that, it goes on my email letterhead. So here's the body of the quotes, and then down, and then up here there's a box that says here, click here to view for properties. When somebody clicks in that box and signs into my website looking for properties, it sends me a text. So every Friday, what I'm doing is I'm going fishing. So and I get a couple of these every Friday. When somebody clicks on that box and I get a text, it's like, oh, wait a minute, this person's thinking about real estate. So my whole purpose on this thing is to send something out that won't get opted out, but to let them know that I'm here. So I try to send something of value, and whatever that is for you. If you send out, I mean, back in the day, it used to be recipes, and I have no idea why people would think that that is something of value to anybody. But you want to send something that's got some kind of shelf life to it. Now, so I mentioned I call everybody 4 times a year. What's everybody's favorite day of the year? We're gonna take a shot at what's your favorite day of the year? Birthday. Bingo. There's one. Okay, you're married. Okay, what's the second call you can plug in? No, so okay, so are you married? Okay, Lori. So I call you on your birthday. Okay, I call you on your husband's birthday. Okay, what other special event do you guys have in your life? Christmas, Thanksgiving. How about your wedding anniversary? Okay. You know what I do on the wedding anniversaries? I mean, he hears me singing. That's next to me. Brian's off right next to me. I call my clients on their birthday and I sing to them happy birthday. Ask him. He hears me. Poor guy. Yeah, poor guy. I can hear the radio on the other end going on. And that's what I do for everybody. So I got 4 calls to make. So I got husband, wife birthdays, wedding anniversary, and if they bought or sold a home from me, I call them on the date that they bought or sold a home from me. Now here's the thing. In an ideal world, those are all spaced out 3 months apart, okay? I have one client, husband, wife, birthday, and wedding anniversary the same day, okay? So that leaves me, but like you said, you can call on, I call people today. I mean, I put them on my calendar. I don't let anybody go more than 3 months without hearing from me live, even though they get from me an email and a letter all the time. I don't let anybody go more than 3 months without hearing me. And I'll call up, hey, I was just thinking about you. And I just want to call and wish you, a weekend. And Edward, I just want to know, we've known each other a long time, and I really appreciate the relationship we've had over the years. I just want you to know there isn't anything I wouldn't do for your family.
Can I have dinner tonight, David?
Sure, no problem. I get that every now and then, but that's what you want to hear, and you can have a little laugh with it in a conversation. But I always, go into that, there isn't anything I wouldn't do for you or your family. Just know that anybody that you send my way, I will take great care of them, and I will go out of my way to make you look like a hero for sending them to. So like Brian said, I'm coming from a point of contribution, and I believe that, and I internalize that. And as a new agent, sometimes you have to get over this thing where, I feel like I'm bothering them, I'm calling them. If there's somebody that likes you, they want to help you. And here's why I do that 80-20 thing. Look, my best friend that's in my database has sent me 1 referral in the last 6 years, okay? 1. Now, that's my fault, a lot of that. There are people in there that I don't really know that well that have sent me 6 referrals this year, okay? So the goal is to identify who those A-plus people are and spend all your time and energy with them. Some people are just wired that way. You can do a great job for somebody, and they'll just bitch and moan the whole time. And you can go through a transaction with somebody and have every hurdle you can think of, and you're thinking, oh my God, this person's probably, just thinks I'm an idiot. Some of the stuff went sideways, and they end up sending you a couple of referrals afterwards. You never know. It's just the way that the person is wired. And your goal is to identify who those people are and then spend your time and energy with them. Now, my A++ people, now the person who ever reminded me, Carl's not here, but he remembered the story I told last time. For those guys, I do something different. So I have a number of clients of mine that work. My summer job, or not my summer job, my college job was, and I was on an 8-year plan in college. And I didn't become a doctor, so. So you guys can figure that one out. But my summer job, or my college job, was I was working at that time Price Club. And I was there from, pretty close to the beginning. And I was there for 8 years. And then they were bought out by Costco. And a lot of my friends that I knew there stayed on and became in upper management there. So a lot of my contacts now are in the executive office at the Costco, right behind the Marina Warehouse. That's their main executive office in there. And there's a couple of gatekeepers that you'll need to get through just to see people in there. So a couple of the guys I know in there, and girls, ladies, I guess now they are, when it's their birthday or the day that they bought or sold a home from me, especially on their birthday, I will come in with a cake, and I'm dressed just like this, put a goofy hat on my head, and I come in singing happy birthday, okay? And I only do that for my top people. And when I'm there, I'm not passing out business cards or anything like that. It's all about them. Now, when we're there, I'm bringing out a good-sized cake, because it isn't just for the person I'm going to see. I want everybody else coming around, and they go, who's this guy? And then we're meeting people, and then I'll try to get names and numbers, and people will approach me. But afterwards, I'll say, hey, Scott, I met this guy, when I came in for your birthday, and I didn't get his information, and I told him I'd get back to him, and, whatever. So, and also Scott's really good about looking out for me that way. That's why he's one of these people that I do this with. Doing that is better than a month of cold calling. Okay? I'll tell you right now. People look at that, and you'll ask, what does that have to do with real estate? Because people see that I care about him. If I care about him that much, then how do I care about him during a transaction? Anybody here see the movie Jerry Maguire? Anybody not see that? If you haven't seen it, even if you're not a sports nut, go watch that movie. It's all about taking care of the client. You don't need a lot of clients. Look, I just showed you. If you have 16 clients and you spend all your time and energy with them, you'll get 16 deals. But to get those 16 people, you need to know, you got to filter through 400 to get to them. Okay, and then you got to build a relationship. You got to market to them. When I call somebody, everything is systemized. If I just talk to Jonathan says, hey, Dave, call me back on, October 3rd. I mean, he's in my calendar, October 3rd. I'm calling him. I'll probably even send him a letter. Hey, just like you, great speaking to you, and just like you said, I'm going to call you back on October 3rd. And boom, October 3rd, I call him. He knows I'm organized, I'm on it. By the way, here's another thing. I do a lot of business with friends and people that know me. When I go to show up, somebody says, hey, Dave, come over to my house on Sunday morning. Let's talk about list of my house. I don't, if there's one nugget that I can leave you guys with, it's this. Never, ever, ever take a relationship for granted. I've seen a lot of people where they'll go in, they're going to show up in a pair of shorts. Hey, it's my best friend. And you show up in a pair of shorts or a sweat. If it's my best friend, the guy's known me 40 years, I'm coming in a suit and tie. Honor the relationship.
Right.
Okay? If I can leave you with one nugget today, that's it. Never, ever take anybody for granted, because what will happen is Edward's going to come in right behind me, and he's dressed to the nines like he always is, and they're going to look at it and say, hey, this guy's my friend, but you know what? There's a lot of money on the table. This guy's prepared. He's taking this job seriously. That makes sense? All right, so I got like 3 minutes left.
Of course, we're old, David. We're old school.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
For the CRM, maybe the CRM does this, and I haven't really used one yet. How do you organize all the new leads coming in and make it where? Because it just seems there's so many variables. How do you keep track of?
Okay, so great question. So I'll answer that as quick as I can. So the CRM that I have has 20 user definitions. Okay, by the way, don't worry about remembering all this stuff, because I'll make it very clear in a second. And out of those 20 user definitions, underneath it, there's 20 more sub things. So I can keep track of 400 different groups by one or two. Now, my business comes from 3 different groups, and similar to you, Jonathan. So I'm a Jewish guy, and I belong to a synagogue, and probably 70% of my business comes out of my synagogue. About 25% of it comes out of my Costco relationship, and the other 5% comes out of everybody else that I know. The reason I get so much out of my synagogue is I'm there every Saturday, so I see people all the time. And there's nothing, again, that will replace face-to-face. And I know people outside of there better than I know in there, but because they see me face-to-face, and there's 4 other real estate agents, by the way, that do a fair amount of business in my synagogue. But I try to be the guy. They all want to come in the other way. I'm this, and I know that. People don't care. They don't care how much you know. They want to know how much you care. Okay? 2014, I'm going to give you a lesson learned. 2014, I ended up being the #1 agent for Keller Williams in Southern California. That was not my goal that year. It just happened. It was a byproduct. The second year, I tried to make it happen, and my business went in the tank because I let it go to my head. Okay? And what I learned from that is, if I have to say that to a client, then I'm not making a good enough impression that I care about them, because they don't care. They don't care. Imagine you're going in for major surgery, you're a doctor, and your doctor's sitting there all the time talking about himself and his diplomas instead of talking about your situation. How you feeling? Where does it hurt? Hey, I've done a number of these. You want to hear that he's done a number of them, he's got experience, but you don't care if he went to school. You want to know that you don't want to be a number to him. You want to know that when you're under the knife and you're out, that this guy cares about your life. Okay, that's he's gonna throw himself down for you. That's what you want to know. So I have my people organized by Costco. I have them organized by also one of the things that I do, I have them down by past clients, and I have a separate thing in there by buyers. All my buyers are in there. So there's a lot of ways that you can organize, and that's why you need a CRM. The other thing I do is at the very end of the year, I send out a holiday gift to all the people that have either sent me a business that year or closed if they close a transaction with me and they're still in the state of California, I will send them a holiday gift. Okay? And I sent out 214 of them last year at $30 a pop. So you guys do the math. It was a pretty good commitment that I did. And that goes to everybody. And if somebody sent me a referral during the year or even asked me for something, anything that I could do to help them, they needed a plumber, an electrician, I sent my gift at the end of the year, a holiday gift. Okay? Don't call it a Christmas gift, don't call it a Hanukkah gift, it's a holiday gift. And it all goes out at that time. And the only way to keep track of that is when we close a transaction, we put in there, one of the things on our checklist is a holiday gift, and we can pull them up like that. Okay? The other thing is the reason you want a CRM is, first of all, when I come in, I open up my desktop and it tells me call this person, this person, and this person, and here's why I'm calling. Okay? And it tells me if my computer was down, I wouldn't know what to do during the day. What do I do? What do I need to do? So here's my checklist. The other thing is when I open up an escrow, as soon as let's say we open up escrow today, we launch an escrow plan, and here's all the things that have to happen today. And then we've got this plan set up for the next 30 days. And it'll show up on my assistant's calendar. here's what goes on day 1, here's what goes on day 2, and it'll show up on those respective dates. So everything is organized. If you can't keep track of that stuff, you know, then you're going to go by the wayside pretty quickly. Good question, Brian?
How many, if any, how many do you usually try to add to the database a year? Like how many?
So that's a good question. So last year I was on a mission that I added 150 people. Now I would tell you that 150 people that I added, probably about 50 of them were probably worth anything. And it was just because I had the goal, I had the number, and I just wanted to meet it. And I just didn't, you know, it was more fluff than not. And now I'm going to have to, and, you know, and it costs you money. You got to take them out. And, you know, kind of like unfriending somebody on Facebook. So it'll be a little awkward. So you got to. So I've learned that. Here's the easiest way to add somebody. Okay. I just did a transaction with somebody. We just closed escrow on a home. Because this year, you know, now in the last, I've got a new assistant now. We're completely going through everything. And so here's what we did. We just sold a home. She is one of 6 siblings. Okay. Amazingly, the other 5 siblings all live in San Diego. Amazingly. Okay. And now the seller of the home, so she was in her late 60s. So they all had kids. So I got 6. I got 5 others automatically. Actually, it was the mother that referred me to one of the daughters. So I got all 6. And then out of that 6, I got another, I think it was 16 from their kids. They're all grown-ups. Okay. So I got all of that, you know, in there as well. Because now I made her happy, so I got them. I added 22 like that. Okay. And that's arm's length. Okay. That's 1 degree of separation. Okay. So that, I wanted to be more. If you can get anything out of this, I don't believe in shotgunning. It's about being strategic. You know what you're going to do and just come in and do it. Here's one of the things that I've learned from my mentor. He's drilled this into my head. I've got a thick skull. Just ask my wife. Do a little, a lot. Okay? Do a little, a lot. All I do is mail. Once a month, I send out a notepad every other month. That's, if you want to send out something with shelf life. I email every Friday. I call 4 times a year, and then I show up on my A+ clients special anniversaries. If they work at a big company, I'll show up at their office. If they're, you know, an employee somewhere, I'll show up at their home. I'll figure out something that I can do that's special for them. I'll send them a book. I'll send, you know, this stuff isn't complicated. I had a client of mine who just got married. He was living in, of all places, he moved from San Diego to Texas since he moved back here. Just got married. And so I'm talking to him, and he says, Dave, I'm leaving on my, I just got married, and I'm leaving on my honeymoon in 3 days. And I said, really, where are you going? He goes, well, I'm going to, I think it was Kauai. And I'm one of these guys that when I travel somewhere, I always like to read about where I'm going. So I happen to have this book that I remember somebody recommended to me about Kauai. And it was a fabulous travel book. So I said, oh, that's great. Okay, cool. Having, whatever, have a nice trip, blah, blah, blah. We started talking. So I have the phone with him. I got on Amazon, ordered this book for him, had it overnighted with a little gift card on it, cost me $12. And the guy still talks about it. Okay, that was 7 or 8 months ago. Okay, or maybe a year ago, because he went there in the summertime last year. A little thing. It's not about the money. It's because I was listening. That's all it was. One of the, so I'm just going to share a couple of things here with you guys, just to kind of open your minds a little bit on things that you can do. And again, I'm not a master of this. Some of this stuff I got here from this room. I was telling Brian, you sell somebody a house, people love, sometimes people love their dogs more than kids. You sell somebody a house with, that's got a dog, okay? Close escrow on it. I'm not a big gift basket person. I don't believe in that stuff. I don't usually give closing gifts as a rule. Depending on the person. Because being a gift basket means, hey, I couldn't think of anything else, and let me just give you a generic gift, which is a waste of money and probably backfires on you. But one of the things that you can do, and again, you can think of this all the time, they got a dog, get the dog's name, get a dog house made that matches the decor of the backyard or the architecture of the house, whatever, and it's got shelf life, and they'll think, oh my God, they did that for my dog. Do things for a kid. I sold a house years ago. This was going back 25 years ago to a guy, and a good friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, in University City. He had a 4-year-old boy at the time. The house that they bought had a big backyard and had this little playhouse in the back. So when they first came to look at the house, I'm back in the backyard with this little 4-year-old boy, James. In fact, now that I think about it, James just got engaged this week. That's how long ago it was. So I still remember the story. James is in the backyard, a 4-year-old boy, and I'm back there, you know, keeping him busy so mom and dad can look at the house. And there was a little Tonka truck in the little playhouse, so he's there playing with it. So then I had to drag him out of there when we had to leave. They come back, they ended up buying this house. We go to do the final walk through the house. I go to meet them at the house. Actually, it's when we close escrow. We go over there, I bring the keys to the house, meet them there, walk them through, escort them in, the whole 9 yards. You know, that's a big deal. So that's the way I like to do things. You know, you can have somebody meet the lockbox, whatever. I believe, hey, I'm there, I'm all in. So we get there, James is there. First thing James does, and I knew he's gonna do it, he makes a beeline for that playhouse. In that playhouse, I had bought a Tonka truck similar to the one that he was playing with. I put it in a gift box, wrapped it, okay? I put a little card on there for James. He comes in there and he goes right to it and he comes back, Mom and Dad, there's a present there for me. What do you mean there's a present for you? You know, the kid can't read, he's 4 years old. No, they must have left it, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, James, let's go take a look. So he goes out there, he comes out carrying this thing, oh, that's for James. And he opens it up. His parents, I'm telling you, from that, I ended up getting probably 4 or 5 referrals within the next 12 months. And that little thing cost me $20. Okay? So it's a simple little thing. You sell somebody a house with a pool. The kids come in, throw some pool toys in there when you're doing the final walkthrough. I had a client 3 years ago. Guy sent me 4 referrals in 6 months, and they all panned out. And by the way, even if they don't pan out, I would have done exactly the same thing because it doesn't make a difference whether they pan out or not. It's the fact that they are thinking of you and referring to you, rewarding the action, not the result. Okay? Everybody got that? Sent me 4 referrals that panned out. All in all, I think I don't know what Brian's price point. At Brian's price point, he would have made probably 200 grand on it. And I made like, I don't know, probably like 60 grand out of those 4 deals. But they're all rollovers. You know, you go in, you know, hey Dave, we heard about you, we want to work with you, blah, blah, blah. And it's an easy transaction. You got, you know, there's trust already there. Anyway, after the 4th one, you know, I sent him little, you know, my own little way of saying thanks. The 4th one, I'm sitting there and I wanted to thank him in person and I wanted to kind of think about it a little bit this time. And I go to his house. He's an older guy. His health isn't that great, unfortunately. And his life has gotten to the point where he's just, you know, sitting in front of the TV all day. That's his life. So looking at his TV, I was like, gosh, your TV's kind of fuzzy. Got bad reception. I'm like, oh, my TV is 10 years old. You know, I need a new one. And, you know, I just don't have the money to take care of it. Okay. The next day, that was a 40-inch TV. The next day, there was a 50-inch brand new plasma Samsung in his living room. Okay. I came in the next day and brought him the TV. So first thing that one of my colleagues in the office said to me was, gosh, you did that? You know, because the guy said referrals. I said, no, this is a boat. I bought him that so he keeps sending them. Mm-hmm. You know, I ensure that we keep the gravy train going. I made 60 grand. That TV cost me $800. You don't have to be a finance guy to know that's a pretty good investment. You know, I mean, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, I was probably cheap. You know, I've sent people to Vegas, whatever it is, you know, whatever they're into. But again, that's the kind of stuff that, you know, just I'm going to recap on this thing, and I just want to, you know, then I'll just say goodbye to you guys. But figure out, when we were talking about it, I didn't just say shotgun. I mean, if you want to get 1,000 people, it's easy. You can just go onto Facebook and just, you know, friends, and, you know, you don't know probably, you know, 90% of the people on there. You can do that. But what I did is I walked Jonathan through and we went strategically. Who do I know? If you don't know anybody, join an organization, get involved with something. Start with your neighbors, your friends, you know, people that you like to hang out with. The nice thing about doing what you're doing, Jonathan, if you do it right, and you got to do it in a way where you're genuine and authentic about it, where people aren't going to run away because you're going to come, hey, you want to buy a house? You know, where you've got to develop that relationship where they get to know you, but you don't want to be an idiot about it and not tell people what you do for a living. Okay, but there's a way to do it, and you guys will, you know, figure it out in your own general way. But it was very systematic. Who do I know? How do I stay in touch with them? What tools am I going to use to stay in touch with them? And then when I do stay in touch with them, what am I going to say and do? And the saying and doing is what you're going to deal with. You know, you learn from John, you know, what are the scripts, what are that? How do you go through that? And then you just want to internalize it to a point where the reason you use scripts is that you get to a point where it becomes naturally where it's your style, not the script. Okay, because if you try to do it your style without a script, you're going to, believe me, don't do it. Okay, as much as we all like to be independents, we're all free thinkers, we're all independent contractors, we all want to do it my way. That's it. Rose, I'm glad you came in. So I'm going to use you as an example in closing this segment. So Rose, when we were talking about contact groups, so I'm going to be a little, because that thing's on, sorry, it's going to be a little un-PC. Rose came to me and we were talking, and I learned a lot from that conversation, by the way. She has no idea what I'm talking about. But we were talking about, what little niche that she can work. And if you have a chance to talk to Rose, she has a very heavy Chinese accent, right? Very heavy. So if she's trying to compete with an American client with me, she's going to have a very hard time, okay?
Not just her.
Not just her, yeah, but but I mean that, somebody, because there's a lot going on and there's a lot of technical terms and whatever else. But if she has a Chinese client, I haven't got a prayer. I mean, it's not even close. So I told, it's like what Brian was saying. I mean, if anybody wants to go farm, the last thing you want to do is go farm in Brian's farm. You have to be an idiot to go do that. So and it's the same thing with me. If I'm going to go try to work her niche, I'd be an idiot. There's no way they want to work with somebody that they're comfortable with and explain things in their language and their culture and their nuances. So she has no competition in that particular market. And there's a lot of business to be had in that market. There's a lot of business. All she has to do is know, a few hundred people in there, and she's set to go. Does that make sense? All right. Yeah. I want to thank you guys. Sorry I had to talk so fast. Business on earth. When I got this business, my best friend told me this is a real estate license, a license to print money.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. What do you guys think?
Amazing.
Amazing. Any good ahas?
Like the whole thing.
The whole thing. Any one nugget though you could take out?
Show that you care.
Show that you care.
Well, I mean, we're told so much to lead gen, and I don't know. I guess I don't really think of people that I already know so much as potential leads. I always am kind of really identifying those people as people I don't know right now. So it kind of shifted my focus back into the easier way of people I already know.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more too about lead gen and database and kind of how they work together, right? Because they're really two pieces of the same puzzle.
Right.
A lot of times you'll see people who have large databases, people who are mostly surviving off their database are typically people who have built it through lead genning and taken those unmets into mets. But we'll talk. So great though. Any other ahas? Gary?
I liked how personable he was, and he said be strategic and do a little a lot. Where we're learning so much, I thought that was a good nugget so that we can get good at doing really what works.
Awesome. Anything else?
I liked when he said that the bad leads will hide the good leads. It's like you could spend all this time on somebody who it's not going to pan out. And you might start to feel that. You might have this other person over here. You could just take all that time that wouldn't have gone anywhere and moved on to that person. And actually done.
Perfect. I actually think that's real. I'm actually really glad you brought that up too. Because when you said that, I remember that. Probably one of the things as a new agent, I'll just say just from years past, right, and just remembering as a new agent, it's so true that the bad leads will oftentimes hide the good leads. Meaning that oftentimes what happens is you get a little sniff of something, you get all really excited, and you focus everything on that rather than continuing to do what you're going to do, right? And then that thing never pans out, right? You get so excited about the one that you forget to do what the actual business is actually supposed to be doing every single day. So yeah, absolutely, the bad leads hide the good leads. So I'm really glad you brought that up. The other thing also to remember with leads is to define what a lead actually is. This is kind of off topic a little bit, but super important, is to define what a lead actually is. A lead is not somebody that just goes into your database, right? And different people define leads as something different. A lead may be someone for you, depending on your business model, maybe somebody who's looking to buy a home or sell a home in the next 30 days. Maybe 60 days, 90 days, 180 days, right? But at some point it loses meaning, usually typically closer to a year. That's not really a lead. That's just a contact add to your database that you're going to nurture, right? So understanding, you need to define for yourself what a lead actually is so that you don't worry about what's a bad lead, what's a good lead. You kind of know, and then you're going to qualify that person as a bad lead or good lead. And then outside of that, having a plan of actually how you're going to treat that lead. right? So you actually have an actual lead plan. You get a lead, someone who's going to look to, let's just say it's 60 days, someone's going to buy a home or sell a home in the next 60 days. You're actually going to write out a plan that you're actually going to, so it's going to be systematic. You're not going off of memory, right? Bad agents typically go off of memory. Great agents go off of systems and checklists, just so you know. So, don't leave it up to chance, right? Go through that checklist, and so you're going to treat that lead in a systematic way. And when you multiply that over the long run, you're going to have systematic results. Does that make sense? So the reason why Dave can go through his database and do all those numbers, I guarantee is because he tracks his numbers, right? We all want to know, okay, how many calls I need to make to get this certain thing. That's great, but until you're actually tracking your own numbers, you're not going to know what it actually is for you and for the database you're doing. And then, of course, your numbers are also going to help you diagnose the problem or any problems that you actually may be having. So if you're not tracking your numbers, I highly suggest you track your numbers. All the great agents track their numbers because numbers are the language of business. Believe it or not. Anybody who's run a business, right, they know that numbers are the language of business. So we're kind of back-ending a little bit today, but we're going to kind of talk about today's expectations a little bit. First of all, right, Dave kind of talked through the database, and we'll talk a little bit more about the database. First of all, like Dave said, it's literally the most important tool that you have as an agent. In fact, a lot of people say it actually is your business, right? If you're going to retire at some point in time and you want to, quote, sell the business, what are you selling? You're selling your database. You're selling your contacts. When a doctor retires, has anybody gone to a doctor and then shown up the next time and it'd be a different doctor? Right? Because they sold their book of business, right? So your database is your book of business. So it's your contact names information. Like Dave said too, it's important to qualify, right? So you're not letting the bad leads hide the good leads. You're not letting their bad contacts hide the good contacts, right? So you want to focus as much as possible. Of course, we're going to lead generate today for business. Did we lead generate last time or no? We did. So we're going to lead generate for business today. So it means you're making calls to find buyers and sellers. 3, we're going to try to add we're going to intend to add new contacts to your growing database. Your database should be growing. We're going to so what did Dave talk about? He talked about organizing, categorizing your contacts for targeted marketing. Why do we target? Why do we target market? Anybody know? Right. Yeah, I mean, to be strategic, right? I mean, are you going to talk to a seller the same way you're going to talk to a buyer? Are they going to care about the same sort of information? Or maybe even an investor? Is an investor going to care about different things than just a normal seller or a normal buyer? Right? Or are you going to talk to somebody who's ready to, remember, if we develop that lead plan, if someone's going to be buying in the next month, they're like, hey, I'm really interested. I need to be in a house in the next 3 months. Like my lease is up, whatever, and I'm out on the street after that. I absolutely need to buy. Are you going to talk to that person differently than the person who just said, yeah, I'm thinking about buying or selling in the next 3 years? Right? Are you going to contact that person differently, right? So target marketing, understanding that targeted marketing is going to be much more effective. And of course, we're going to talk about putting your contacts on a marketing campaign to stay top of mind for when they are ready. All right. Did everybody do their homework? Their mission?
Some videos I couldn't find, like on the first and second missions.
Did you? How did you look up your mission? Do you look it up online?
Just search videos. Some of them just nowhere to be found.
Okay, great. So probably the best way to do it is to actually go into the Ignite resources on your website. So when you go to KW Connect, go to KWU, go to Ignite, right? Yeah. And then you click on Student Resources. When you click on the button that says your mission, so for Monday, it's going to be Session 3 mission.
When it opens the mission, you can click next.
You can click in there, and it'll bring you directly to the video. So definitely important to do that. So everybody did that? Everybody,
you know what? Sorry. But I did do that, actually, and I found that our missions were a little different than the ones online.
Yeah, they are.
Meaning they're newer than this one.
Yes. Yeah, mine's really, I was gonna go, I usually go over it, but I noticed when I looked over it, mine's really outdated.
They just recently updated.
Yeah.
So you guys, it's kind of in between. So
Yeah.
we
So
work
some of the videos were different. That's so some were not there that you had that we had on our
We
list.
probably ordered those books before they updated the online portion of it.
All right. So everybody was able to, nobody had trouble with the e-edge, things like that. If you did, talk to, who do we talk to, Mary? Is the best person to talk to?
No, e-edge and all things tech would be
Jordan.
Jordan or Jeff.
Okay, so Jordan and Jeff.
I don't know if anyone else has this problem, but I had a problem with the app not being able to brand it. Like first I couldn't even find myself. Then I finally appear and that little toggle switch that says make this my agent was not there.
I'll give him the
And
written
so-
instructions on that.
I've already called, I called tech support and they said they've seen this problem and they're
Oh,
working
have
on it.
they?
Yeah.
They're working on it,
So
so it's a glitch in the system?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's,
'cause I
there's
haven't
something
been able
on
to
their
brand
end.
mine either.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're helping me out. He put in like an escalation ticket in for me.
Awesome.
So I'm waiting to hear that.
Okay.
Thanks, Richard. Appreciate that. So make sure to do this, right? We have these missions. They're not just, hey, like, look, you're going to get as much out of this as you put into it. If you just kind of go through this class, I'm going to tell you, if you just go through this class and actually don't do the mission, probably not going to get much out of it. It's just really time consuming information and basically entertainment, right? I don't know if you ever realized that actually things like conferences could just be really expensive entertainment. Unless you actually implement, it's literally just really expensive entertainment. So, or just time consuming, right? So make sure you actually implement. The businesses that succeed, the agents that succeed are the ones that implement on a consistent and daily basis. All right, so we're going to report out our daily 10-4. Anybody remember what our daily 10-4 is? Yes.
10 new contacts, 10 notes, visit 10, there's not a weekly thing, visit 10 houses.
Yep, that's a weekly thing. So I know we call it daily 10-4, but that's weekly.
Oh, yeah. And then 4, 10 calls. 10 calls. 4 something.
Yeah, it's like connect, contacts, connections.
Okay, I'll get out.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anybody know why we preview houses?
So we know our market that we're going to be selling?
Yeah, absolutely, right? So you know your market. One thing you'll quickly realize, any good agent will tell you that pricing a house and how houses work, it's not just a simple square footage times, you know, the average price per square foot in an area. There's actually an art and a science to it. And the more you go through, you're going to get that kind of gut instinct of how to price a home aggressively, how to do it right. You're going to start to understand what's actually selling in a market and what's going to be sitting. You just kind of, it's almost that gut instinct. And that's great to have that gut instinct, that understanding of what actually is of value in a house and what's not. It'll help you with your listings and of course also help you on your buying side as well. So we're talking about our daily 10-4. I think we're going to do teams. Are we doing teams this time?
You can certainly set up teams, and we downloaded in class the
Daily tracker.
Daily 10-4. So when you go into the instructor resources, you can look at the tote board, and it will show who is reporting, who is sent, blah blah blah, and what their roll numbers are.
Let's see. Last time I did not have access to it. I know that.
You should now. Don't you have instructors resources down there?
My tracker.
It's really the daily 10-4. This is just your outline and so forth and so on. So go back into Ignite and see if you can pull up the, there you go. This is what we did yesterday. So this is what it should look like on the Ignite My Tracker Daily 10-4.com. So we did do that in class. You can go to the main screen. You should be able to. I don't know if you can or cannot.
Yeah, it's not letting me.
It's
So
not-
I'd have to set it up, yeah, to make sure
Okay.
that I actually have access to it.
Then let's make sure you're set up on that, Jonathan, so that we can display that. Just a suggestion, you may go around I just went round robin, how many calls, how many da-da-da. You can set them up. We did talk about partnering up, didn't we? Yes. Accountability partners, right? So you might want to do that. It's totally up to you.
Yeah, I want to do the team, so I think
You do
I'm
the
gonna
team
do the
thing.
team.
So
we're
you've
gonna split up
got
in
teams
teams.
of 2 people, or is there anybody not in a team? We all got all hooked up. Okay.
Oh, I had a different person, but I could.
Yeah,
do
she's
somebody.
missing too.
I'm happy to do a new person.
It's my
Okay.
first day, so I don't know what
Right.
team you're
I
talking
do
about.
So she could be added to a team.
Yeah.
It could be more than 2 people.
I'll just split it up two.
They've already had their, last time they teamed up, like James is with Ada,
Yeah.
and I don't know how they all did it, but they did it.
Okay, well, we'll just go through it. Okay. Daily, Lori, did you do daily 10-4?
We're together.
You guys are together? Both of you guys do daily 10-4?
I didn't accept the notes. Didn't I get them set out, but didn't mail them.
Okay, so you always want to make sure, obviously, mail them, but writing them down is definitely the hardest part. Right. Did not? Okay, remember, continue to do it, right? Did you get through any at all? Three contacts, 5 contacts? Nope. Nathan?
I've only seen 2 houses. I was going to look at them this weekend.
Perfect. That's fine. Yeah. Rose, you're not in the class, right? You're just joining in for fun. Rebecca? Okay, so sending notes. What are some ideas that we can find new contacts real quick, just while we're at it? Right, because I mean, I think it's a great, and a lot of people are going to have trouble finding new contacts. Cole Realty Resource, right? That's a good call around. Works. Cole. That's a simple one, right?
Well, are we talking cold calling or what? Because I think Scott made 1,400 calls and got like 40 contacts. So that's, it's hard to get 10 in a day. Is there a more specific route you're talking about?
So, right, so just real quick, and we'll just kind of get this down because this is kind of early class, right? One of the things Dave said, do you notice what he said? I'm not going to tell you how to do the business because there's a lot of different ways to tell it, right?
Yeah.
One of the things you realize, a lot of people think that their way is the way to do it, and that's what you got to do. Ultimately, though, right, it comes down to contacts. To belly, face-to-face, nose-to-nose, right? So there's different suggestions. So that's what I'm asking. So cold calling is definitely one. Cold Realty Resource may be one for call-arounds, right? You could make 1,400 calls, make 50 contacts?
I made a little over 2,000 calls. I think I got 21 contacts/leads out of it.
I mean, but it's good to know your numbers, right? So you know how many actually dials you have to make. Yeah. And now and also, are you using a dialer by any chance?
No, I manually.
So now you'll see why a dialer is actually more. You'll actually cut down the time on that.
So that's like a 10% rate. So if you make 100 calls a day, yeah, I was going to say, you get one contact, they need 9 more, so you're going to spend 15 hours a day cold calling.
Yeah. So that's okay. So here's another reason why we call it's called efficiency, right? Just like real quick, the reason why people use dialers is because it might call 4 numbers at one time.
Yeah, right.
And then I'll pick up one. So now you've just taken your time and you're taking your manual input.
Mojo is $150 a month, right?
I don't know how much Mojo is specifically. There's different dialers.
Right.
But ultimately, right, it comes back to contacts. So cold calling is one, but maybe another source of contacts.
I like an open house idea.
Open house. Open house is another one.
Door knocking.
Door knocking is another one.
Joining a club.
Right. So like I just talked to somebody the other day. They said it takes about 3 hours to door knock 300 homes, and they're going to talk to 50 people in that time. Right. Now, obviously, it's going to depend on the type of house. Like if they're mansions in La Jolla, they take a lot longer to do. Like it can be different depending on the type of house that you're door knocking. So I don't think it was 100 houses. I think it was. Sorry. I think nothing messed up. For 20 contacts, it took them 3 hours. 20 contacts. Okay. So what's another option besides door knocking? Meetups. Right? What's another way to contact somebody? your sphere, right? Just talking to your sphere. You know why do you guys know why I'm asking all these things, right? Because oftentimes I think one of the biggest things for new agents is you almost get blinded, like, oh, I have to do it this one way. Ultimately, right, like if you strip everything away, just like Dave said, like it is a belly to belly, face to face, nose, toes, right? Whatever he said, right? That's what it is. It's all about relationships. You are in a relationship business. You just happen to be selling real estate. You can find contacts through Facebook. You can find contacts filling up your gas, right? There was a guy, Dave Norberg, big agent in accounting. Guy does a ton of business. And he says every single time he goes to the gas station, if there's somebody else there, he will choose the thing right next to him. And he'll just chat up a conversation with them. Just a friendly conversation, no pressure, nothing like that. And all of a sudden he has a couple questions that he asks that, feels natural, talks about, oh, by the way, have you thought about moving? He said he probably does 1 to 3 deals a year doing that. Just from meeting somebody at a gas station, right? So my point in saying this is it's easy to say I cannot do the 10 contacts, or you're going to make the decision that I will do the 10 contacts, right? If you want to find a reason why it won't work, you will always find a reason why it won't work. There's a reason why most people fail in the business in the first year, right? It's because most people are unwilling to just make that decision. I'm going to make the 10 contacts. Maybe it sounds hard. I want to level with you guys so that you guys just realize it's like, if you want to find the reason why I can't do it, you'll find it. So, but great though, right? Like you're talking about like, hey, phone call, it's going to take me 15 hours just to get that many contacts.
Right.
Okay, so maybe what does that tell you about your lead generation source?
Maybe use another one.
Maybe use another one. Right?
Absolutely.
Numbers don't lie. It gets back to numbers. Look, I'm unwilling to commit to 20 hours of cold calling a day to get my 3 pieces of business from it. Right? Or maybe my list isn't a good list. Right? Like maybe my cold calling, maybe there's a better, more effective list that people pick up more often. Right? Maybe I should start, maybe I should work on FSBOs. FSBOs are probably going to pick up more often then. Right? So, does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So, a little bit of tough love.
There's a quote, kind of what you said. Every 4, I forgot who it was. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely that. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're absolutely right.
MREA.
Yeah, it's another thing. It's not recent. But I've
Where's a
seen
good
that
place to
before.
find like a good cold calling list?
Well, thankfully, Cole's one of the better ones.
Call them.
But maybe you also look at other sources, expired, FSBOs, things like that. There's a reason why, with the do not call list, it's really it's made it cold calling much more difficult. So that's why you're seeing door knocking becoming much more in vogue right now.
So nobody on the do not call list would come up on those lists?
Sometimes they do, depending on the list. So sometimes the list will say, so depending on your data source, so like if you're using something like Vulcan or RedX, it'll still come up. It'll just say, it'll just have the little DNC thing next to it. And that's up to you whether or not you want to risk that. The official stance is that you don't do it. Again, you just have to make that calculated decision for yourself whether or not you're
$1,000.
Yeah, it's $10,000, right? I've known agents who said, we've got hit with it, we got hit with a fine once or twice, and we made, $150,000. I just consider it a cost of business, right? So it all depends on, like I said, I'm not going to tell you to call those numbers. So again, we can either say it's frustrating or you can say it's fascinating. When we go with say it's fascinating, our mind's going to go to problem solving rather than problem finding. Right, because whether you want to problem solve or problem find, that's what you're going to do. Does that make sense? Awesome. Well, I think we're pretty much done with the 10-4. But seriously, guys, do the 10-4. Do what you can, right? Like, make it your intention to do it, right? I mean, whatever it is. Whether it's even talking to somebody at Starbucks, right? That's another place. Just chat and have a conversation. And naturally segue it into Oh, like, hey, how long you been here? Oh, awesome. Do you live in the area? Oh, yeah, I live in great. Yeah. What, do you love it here or what? Yeah, I actually just live up the road. By the way, like, how long have you lived here for? Oh, awesome. Did you buy a house or you rent it? Right? You see how that could be a totally natural progression and not creepy and not pushy, right? You can do it. All right, so now we're going to lead gen. Speaking of calling. So page 9 in your book. I always like to do an affirmation. Does anybody do affirmations in the morning or before calling? Why do we do affirmations? Page 9. What was it?
Amps me up.
Does amp you up, right?
Ready, yeah.
Gets you ready.
Makes me think I'm doing the right thing.
Makes you think you're doing. What's an affirmation you use?
I come from a place of service.
Okay, great. I come from a place of service, right? But sometimes, as real estate professionals, because we have the little drunk monkey telling us that people are going to hate us and people will whatever, right? We have to remind ourselves that we are coming from a place of service, right? And then you actually do come from a place of service. Like that's the other part of it, right? Dave, do you think Dave comes from a place of contribution, a place of service?
Oh yeah.
Does it sound like it? Do you feel like his business is reaping that harvest from doing that? Yeah, absolutely, right. What's another, Scott? What's a affirmation you use?
I use the ones in the front of the playbook.
Okay, great. Anybody else have one? Now, me personally, I like to stick with one for a little while just to remind myself. And mine right now is my actions are in line with my goals. My actions are in line with my goals, right? Because oftentimes we have goals and our actions don't really back it up. And so is it really a goal or is it just a dream? Right? Okay.
Another one I use is I'm the best option for these people. They just don't know it yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that's definitely true for us. I mean, so I would definitely say that, right? And you have to believe that, guys. And just so you guys know, if you're worried about not being a great agent, like this is, I know I'm kind of a little off track, so don't tell anybody, right? But like one of the things that a lot of people get scared of, especially as a new agent, you see someone like maybe Dave, maybe you see someone like Dan Beer, maybe you see someone like Brad Seaman, right? And you kind of go like, how am I supposed to compete with them? Right. Well, do you know what they are in real estate? Have you heard of the whole 1% thing? They're the 1%. So don't worry about that part of the business. Worry about the other 99%. Compete with the 99%. Right. I think Dan taught in Ignite last year, and he said, I'm the biggest agent in 92127, and I have a 3% market share. So there's 97% of the business in 92127, and maybe my numbers are a little off, but there's 97% of the business that there's 97% shot you're not competing with them, right? So don't worry about that. Don't worry about literally. There's probably 90% of the business not great service. So if you're the fact that you're here, you're plugged in, you get a mentor, you're already going to be servicing those people 10 times better than most of the business out there. Does that make sense? Awesome. So everybody got their list, their numbers? All right, let's make 20 minutes of calls, guys. Believe it, even if it's just friends, just to reconnect and remind them that you're in the business. We are ahead in the game, guys. Page 15 in the book. But before we get there, does anybody know why we do handwritten cards? Not to Dave necessarily, but like to anybody. Why do we do handwritten cards? Justin?
No one doesn't.
No one doesn't. So there's one, right? It sets you apart. What was it, Elena?
More touching.
More touching, right? It's more personal, right? And personal is powerful, right? There's something that a personal touch will do that just a mass mailer won't do, right? Not many people take the time to do a handwritten card, so very powerful, right? Could you tell when Dave, when he works with his sphere, does he do personal touches?
Yeah.
Would you say it's working for him? Would you say that he enjoys it?
Yeah.
No, look, some people aren't the touchy-feely personal type, and if that's not you, that's okay. You don't have to be that person for this class, do them. But they do, I mean, they're great, right? Because they really help people. It was really interesting, just a story, just in case you don't believe in these. There's a story of a car salesman. This is a true story, by the way. He was a legendary car salesman, like legendary. This guy was selling like 1,000+ cars a year, which is like unheard of. Like, I don't know if you think about car sales, that is unheard. That's basically 3 cars for every day of the year. That is unreal. It's a lot. I mean, has anybody bought a car before from a dealership? How long it takes?
8 hours.
I mean, just 8 hours, right? And that's even if you don't. That's like if you don't even negotiate, right? Like, yeah, and if you negotiate, it's going to take even longer, right? And then they add all this stuff. Well, this guy sold, thousands of cars a year, basically. And they asked him, they said, well, what, like, and so he had assistants and everything, like helping him. And they just said, well, what's your secret? What is it that you do? Well, first of all, he actually built a database of all his past clients. Car salesmen, do many car salespeople build a database? No, so there's number one. Number two, he actually gave them handwritten cards every single year. Or not every single year, every single month.
That's funny. When you buy a car, you never want to go back to them.
I know, right? I know, a lot of times you don't, right? Like, so this guy, I mean, so that's the thing. If you have a guy like this, right, and he's building a database and he's developing friendship, right? And if you're like, oh, I actually like that car salesman guy, which is so rare. Who do you think you're going to send your friends to? Oh, talk to this guy. Like, he's super cool.
That's so impressive too, because with a car, it's a lot more, like product based than, agent based.
It's a lot more commodity based.
Yeah, exactly. You just want the car. You don't care about the sales.
Yeah, well, but then you deal with the car salesperson, and you're like, man, this would be so much nicer. I would have paid a little more money just not to have to go through the whole ordeal.
But if that dealership didn't have the car you want.
Used cars, whatever. I mean, that's the thing, right? Possibly. But nonetheless, so he wrote a handwritten card every single month to these people. You know what it said? He literally wrote the same thing every single month. It said, I like you.
Wasn't Cal Worthington, was it?
I don't think it was Cal Worthington. That's all it said, though, was I like you. Sounds almost tacky, doesn't it? Yeah, here's my question.
Did he understand it, John, or he wrote it?
I think he wrote it. Yeah. He probably had his assistants writing it after a while. How many people drunk monkey just spoke to them right there saying that is so dumb? I know I did when I first heard that. I was like, that is so dumb. Yet the proof is in the results, right? Just so you know, there's a thing what we call the drunk monkey. Hear about it in a class called Bold. I highly suggest taking it if you ever get a chance. But there's a thing called the drunk monkey. They will basically tell you not to do all the stuff that is actually really effective. All the stuff that you actually should do. Just so you know. Yeah, it's yeah. Yeah, it will tell you stuff like this person won't like me if I talk to them, this person won't work with me, I shouldn't door knock, or they'll also tell you, oh, maybe you should do something else like, play with your Facebook page for the next hour as opposed to actually making calls because calls are uncomfortable, or maybe you should do this rather than, actually make those new contacts, right? That's what the drunk monkey does. So an example of one of the things that I had is when my coach told me about somebody that did a 52 touch program as opposed to a 33 touch or 36 touch. And I was like, that is nuts. Like, who would want to be pestered 52 times a year? right? Now, I was like, that's nuts, that's crazy. And does anybody else think that 52 times is probably a little excessive, right? Like that's what you're thinking. And then you know what his conversion rate for his database is? 1 to 3. For every 3 people in his database, he has a sale from that database. Now the typical is usually like 12 to 1 with the 33 touch. You know, that's, you know, it's countrywide, so it's different in different areas. But again, the proof is in the results, right? I can either do what I think works, which probably won't, or I can do what other successful people have already done and just implement those systems, right? So the drunk monkey told me, and I was like, well, obviously my drunk monkey's an idiot because I was totally wrong on that one, right? So anyways, when he said that I like you, just one thing, first of all, when you do this, it is a personal touch. Well, just by saying that, it also evoked this thing called the principle of liking. This guy, Robert Cialdini, wrote a book called Persuasion. It's about things that actually help persuade people that like almost automatically help them make decisions. One of them was the principle of liking. When you find out that somebody likes you, you're more likely to like them back. Don't know if you knew that. So these are very important. So highly suggest doing these. That other guy that built this business on open houses from Rob Wolf up in Orange County. He does 5 handwritten cards every single day. And he's been doing it. And I think he had over $1 million GCI. I think he had like 1.5 GCI last year. 5.
Oh.
5 every single day. I think he was writing them, yeah.
5.
500 single day?
5 every single day. Just 5.
5. I said you said 500.
Hey, well.
Oh my God, his hand must be.
Well, okay, well, if he can do 500, can't you guys do 5?
There you go.
5 sounds much better than 500 now. So, now that your money got stretched up to 500, it's 5 more doable.
Yeah, that sounds great.
You probably hit that out in 15 minutes, right? That's not long. So at the end of the day, right, you're committing, hopefully, right, this should be a commitment to add 200 contacts to your database by the end of Ignite. Why and how do we actually do the database, right? If you use email, does anybody here use email? You should, right? I mean, it's like a necessity almost, right? Does anybody get spam emails from like, I don't know if it's even spam, but just emails from everybody, Amazon, Target, right? Just everybody. Why do they do that? Yeah, I mean, it's to get you to come back, to remind you that they exist. Maybe they have a sale, they want to engage you, right? So they actually buy something. And sometimes there's even sites that you've even visited, right? That you didn't even put in your email information, and somehow they got your email information. Pretty clever, right? So, you know, they're giving you information, they're giving you ideas about upcoming whatever events, specials, etc. Right? Why do they do that? So that you're re-engaging, you're coming in, they're actually getting business. So what would be, has anybody had a good example of like an actual, getting one of those emails and actually buying something from them?
I did that yesterday. John Juice sent me one that because it's Thirsty Thursday. And they're like, oh, upgrade your medium to a large. And I'm like, don't do that. And I bought like 3 of my friends.
Right. And do you have like a membership card with them or anything like that? Or like a rewards card? So it probably, and instead, that's the thing too, when you have a rewards card, it makes it even more effective, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a Starbucks Gold Card member. So what that means is I just pay with the card and I get free stuff, right? But when they send me things too, like you're gonna get more rewards for doing this, I'm like, we might as well go to Starbucks today. Like I wasn't thinking about it, but like now that I'm gonna get double the rewards, like I'm totally going, right? And so they're constantly keeping me engaged. And even that rewards program, right, is even a smart thing to do because now if there's a Coffee Bean and Starbucks right next to each other, where am I probably going? So I go to Starbucks and I'm like, I got my rewards invested with them. So so here's the question is even if you didn't, right, if you didn't even use that coupon, would you say that touch was still at least a little bit effective? like maybe got it on your mind when you weren't even thinking about them, right? Because one of the things that you'll hopefully learn quicker rather than later is that in real estate, not everybody's thinking about you all the time. I know we think about ourselves all the time, right? Because we are ourselves, right? So you're always thinking like, oh, like, do I look good? Like, how do I smell? Like, or like, am I looking presentable? How's my language coming across? Like, maybe those are things you're thinking, right? Or, hey, I'm hungry, right? You're always focused on you. Well, your customer is not going to be focused on you. Surprise, right? Like, hate to break it to you, your customer is not going to be constantly looking for people to tell about you, like to tell you, like tell them, like the other person, oh, look at, hey, I got this buddy Justin, he's amazing, you should use him. Like, are you selling any home? No, they're not going to be doing that, right? Even really good friends, like they might hear it and they're not even thinking about it, right? Because their minds aren't connected with it. So that's why we have powerful scripts just to remind them to that if they do hear somebody to let us know. And of course, to do things like emails and drip campaigns to remind them so that subconsciously in their mind, they're all of a sudden thinking, oh, I heard somebody talk about real estate. And I just remember, hey, Justin's in real estate. Or Nathan's in real estate, right? Like, hey, like, you know, you should reach out to my buddy Nathan. He's awesome. You know, does that make sense? All right, does anybody know what a targeted marketing campaign is?
Campaign that targets your market.
Well, what's your market? What do you mean by market? Define market.
It would either be the social groups you're in, the geographical location you're trying to hit, the type of homes you want to sell.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're identifying a specific segment within a market, right? With a specific segment, whatever that be, like a volleyball group. It should be page 16. But I mean, ultimately, right, this is an important strategy for success. So is that example down there? Do you guys have that? So it says the company, does anybody know how to say this water company, by the way? They make vitamin water? LaSalle. See, okay, that's what I've always said. Okay, just so. Oh, see, now that was wrong. So, okay. Began to market its vitamin-enriched water to men and women between the ages of 18 and 49 who indicated that they were interested in health and fitness. Because of this targeted marketing, the Glacéau Smart Water brand grew approximately 28% in less than a year. So why do companies, governments, and many other entities keep detailed information on the people? Right? The answer is because the data is valuable. It's like Facebook. I don't know if you knew this. Their whole thing, their whole play is not like connecting people. Like, they're really about getting your information. And I mean, that's how they make money, right? They get your information. And the more specific, the more detailed information they have, the more powerful it is to advertisers.
Nothing. I said they listen into.
Oh, yeah, right? Like, they know.
They have access to your microphone, so they hear. That's why you'll see ads where you never clicked on something in Google. Also, Facebook knows what ads to show you. It's because they're listening through your microphone.
Yeah. So there you go. They're watching. But maybe it's to sell your product that you really want. So, like, who cares? Like, you know, like, I really wanted that. So information, right? Information is power. So just remember that. So how does this relate to your business? Anybody have an idea?
It's the same concept. Choosing who you're gonna target.
Yep.
Instead of trying to target everyone, specify.
Absolutely.
Where's Dave?
Oh, he already taught and he's out.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
No offense, I love you, but I've heard you talk.
That's right. You've already heard me talk. Awesome.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not offended. So what is your database? Can anybody tell me what a database is?
It's simple as term. What? Just
Yeah. I mean, well, how would you define a database?
collection of people that you have a piece of information to be able to contact them.
Okay. So is it like a place? Is it organized? Is it something that's organized? Right. Because if you have a bunch of random names in random places, it's not going to be really a database, is it? Right. And the reason why it might seem trivial, right, that I'm actually talking about the details of this, but I don't know if you knew this, your mind actually works really well with specifics. So remember we talked about a lead plan? Like why do you have a lead plan? It's because your mind works better with specifics. To say I want to sell a ton of homes this year is not going to be nearly as powerful as saying I want to sell 32 homes this year. Right? Because now 32 is specific, a ton of homes. I want to make a lot of money, like is not specific at all. What is a lot of money? For one person, it's $20,000. Another person might be $15 million. For another person, it may be $2 billion. Right? So your mind works well with specifics, and you have to know the specifics to actually get to your intended target. So understanding what a database is, right, and what it actually entails. So it's a collection of information. It's going to be a tool that stores all the information. Hopefully, not just their information, but information about them, right? That might be, again, maybe seem trivial. Maybe it's they have kids, they have a dog, they just moved. This is our last conversation that we talked about, right? You can input that information oftentimes into a database so that next time you call them 3 months down the road, now they're like, oh man, like he really cares. Like he remembered. You're like, man, I would have never remembered if I didn't input that into my database that they have a dog named Jack, right? But now, because you have that, that's powerful because personal is powerful, right? So we have eEdge. Anybody, you guys been using eEdge or something else, right? Make sure you're using something. There's one mistake most agents don't do. It's using a CRM early enough, getting a database early enough. So remember that it's more than just a list of contacts. It's actually a living record. So you're constantly feeding it. You're constantly updating it. It's not something that you just like put on the shelf and like, yay, I have my database. Like I have a business. And it's like, no, it's a living source of information. It's a tool, right? It's a tool that you're going to use to actually nurture your leads and nurture your contacts, right? You're going to take your people from your Mets into your allied resources. I don't think we have that. Oh yeah, we do. You see that like little strategic model for generating leads and building relationships? In the middle, right there. That is like when I first got into real estate, that like meant nothing to me. Yeah. Like it means everything to me now, right? Like your whole goal is to move people from those outer circles into the inner circles. So you have your general public, everybody you haven't met. You have your target group haven't met. So maybe it's a group that you want to meet. Like has anybody here done online dating? Is anybody willing to like admit it? Anybody? Yes, no? Like went out, right?
Well, yeah, okay.
More people, yeah, Tinder, right? Would you say that you like, okay, so Tinder, does anybody know here what Tinder is? Like you swipe left or swipe right? Like, it's a really sketchy dating website, but hey, people find love on it, I guess. But the point is even when you're going through that, right? So I actually love the fact they're in Tinder. So you swipe left or swipe right, and the whole idea is that at some point, was it swipe right or swipe left? Right. So if I swipe right and they swipe right, now we're like a match, and like now we can get the conversation going on there. So you have your general public of Tinder, right? Of people that you haven't met. Probably a lot of them you don't want to meet. Like, let's be frank, right? You might swipe left on a lot of those people, but the people you swipe right on that's going to be your target group haven't met, right? Those are the people that you're like, I'm hoping to meet. They're like, they're a little cute, or maybe for the girls looking at the guys, they got some abs and they showed it on the picture, right? And so those are your target group haven't met. And then, of course, your goal is to move them into the met category, which is now you're actually going on a date with them. Maybe you've talked to them, they had a conversation. And then, of course, ultimately, I don't know, everybody, okay, we'll just make it clean. Allied resource would be the person you're marrying, right? That's your one-on-one, right? That's going to be your biggest, but in database terms, that's going to be your biggest advocate. Does that make sense? I know dating, but I mean, who knew that real estate is almost like dating, right? Just you consummate the relationship through a purchase of a house. Yes.
Okay, so when I got set up with my title rep,
yep.
I had an idea for what I wanted for the target market. I did 7 to 10 year homeowners, first time homeowners, in like condominiums, single families, and how do I take that database now and take them from the haven't met to the met? I don't just want to cold call because I know there's a finite, resource, there's a finite supply of the haven't mets. I don't want to piss them off before I can, but What's the best way to take your target market?
It's good. Everybody does it differently, but ultimately you either got to reach out to them or they got to reach out to you. Like ultimately, right? So whether it's through marketing, you get them to reach out to you, much more expensive, by the way. And there's ways of doing that, or you got to reach out and talk to them, right? That's how you basically have to have a conversation. So what's the best way of doing that? Door knock, call, yeah, whatever it is. And look, like the reason why I tell you this is because it may be different based on where you're at, the market you're in, the type of people you're talking to, the type of person you are. Maybe you're terrible on the phone, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's better face to face, by the way. Everybody says, "Oh, I'm great face to face," like you and everybody else. So, but the great thing about that is the faster you get face to face, the faster you develop that relationship. So the other thing to remember is that with the database, it's not just having a database that is going to produce leads. When Dave was talking, was he talking about a systematic way that he actually nurtured his database? Right? Like I could have a field of, for a farm, if I don't actually plant seeds, tend to them, water them, and take care of them, I'm actually not going to get the fruit that actually comes from the harvest from that. Does that make sense? So you want to make sure you're actually systematically touching. And that's where we get the whole 8x8, 33 touch. Does anybody know what the 8x8 is?
8 touches in 8 weeks.
8 touches in 8 weeks. Who would you do that to? Yeah, you do it to your Mets, right? So 8 touches, whether it be a combination of email, phone call, mail, right? Different. You don't have to call them 8 weeks in a row. You can
Notes.
Yeah, notes, handwritten notes, whatever. Yes, Jonathan.
Mets means people you've met, right?
You've had a conversation with, right? Okay. You've had an actual conversation with them. Now you're going to have better Mets than some are going to be great Mets, some are going to be terrible Mets. Maybe the terrible Mets, maybe you don't put them in there, maybe you do, right? You got to make that decision for yourself. Yes, sir.
Quick question before we press on. Talk about nurturing. You said that the database is like living. How often do you update yours? You update your database?
Pretty much every day. Yeah, like if you're going to call somebody from my database, then I'm going to update their thing right then. I'm not going to spend my whole day scrubbing through my list.
That's not like let's say you have 1,000 in your database.
I'll update it when I call them.
When actually do the call.
Yeah, so that would be 4 times a year for each person, if that makes sense. Remember, one of the things too is you can get distracted with doing 100 different things. In this business, you want to focus on what's actually going to generate you the business. And also being efficient in doing so. So Justin was like, hey, I'm calling 2,000 people, getting 50 phone calls. Dude, if you and then of course, ultimately what depends from there, not just how many contacts you get, but then how many appointments and then how many closed transactions from it. Right? Because maybe Scott gets 25 transactions from that, and he's like, dude, that was the best 2,000 phone calls I ever made. Or maybe he gets one, and he's like, nah, I could do. Maybe I have better use of time, or maybe I don't. Right? So those are the things you need to look at, and just make sure you're being efficient in what you're doing. That's also why I said, hey, if you're going to do it, you might want to invest in the dialer because now you're going to be cutting out a lot of time. You'd be surprised, when calling, for example. What I would challenge you to do is to get a chess club and actually count how much time you're actually having a phone conversation. Or maybe just from dial, when it starts ringing, to actually hang up the phone and see how much time during the hour that you actually spend on the phone. A lot of people, even consider them great masters of phone calling, have done it and found out, I spent 45 minutes, not even on a dial tone. I only spent 15 minutes on a dial tone. And so then all of a sudden I realized, okay, what systems can I put in place to be more efficient so that I could do in 1 hour what would have taken me 4 hours to do?
Isn't there some dialers that'll call 3 people at one time, and then whoever answers, you get that line?
Yeah.
And then it helps you dial faster.
Yeah, I think you were out, but yeah, there's ones that call 3 or 4 at a time. And because they realize that 90% of the people aren't going to pick up. Right? And then, or you might just go to an answering machine. And there's ones that will even leave an automatic message on the answering machine. You pre-record a message. So this is really important too. Page 18, there's a stat. According to the National Association of Realtors survey in 2014, can anybody read that, what it says below those people?
88% of clients would use their agent again, only 12% do.
Yeah. So what that means that 88% of people who use an agent said, I would definitely use my agent again. And yet, when it came time for them to actually sell their house again or maybe buy a new one, only 12% of them actually do. So what does that most likely tell you?
People are asking.
Yeah, they lost touch, or somebody else came in and
There's a lot of liars.
swooped in. There's probably also liars too, right? Maybe there's people who said I would use my agent again, but if I meet somebody else, I prefer to use them, right? Because they never did fully develop the relationship. What you got to remember is that when somebody buys a house, that is a very big decision for them. And oftentimes, if you're showing them homes, for example, as you're working as the buyer's agent, you're going to be with them quite a bit. You're walking them through the process, so they feel almost emotionally connected to you in a way. And then all of a sudden, day of close hits, right here. And what do most agents do? Most agents get their paycheck. They're gone. Woo! And they forget to and this person has their home, and they live, and this person, they just forget. This guy's well, this person's also feeling, man, I used to me and John used to talk all the time. I'm they didn't call me anymore. I've had people say that, man, we actually miss looking at houses with you. We miss hanging out with you. And I'm well, you're not really buying a house, so I'm not gonna be showing you out anymore. But literally, so the way you get around that, right? Because that's a big deal for them. So maybe you put a plan in place, even post-close. Hey, 7 days after close, I'm gonna call them, see how everything's going, right? Because most agents at the closing table, their service ends and the relationship is just kind of whatever, right? Because to the agent, they're not seeing any more of this coming, right? Now the truth is, and this isn't in the book, right? People on average move according to National Association of Realtors, again, this is average, 7 to 10 years, right? So let's say they move every 10 years. So this is one client, every 10 years, they're going to buy a new house, right? Average commission here, roughly, let's just say $10,000, right? So $10,000. 10 years, another $10,000. How long do you plan on being in the business? Let's just say for 40 years, right? Yeah. So that's just from them, you're going to have $40,000 just from that one client. Oh, wait, but then they may actually refer you people too. So now let's say on average, your one person refers you if you stay in contact and nurture them. Let's just say they refer you one person. They just doubled their value. Now they're $80,000. Referrals, it depends, right? You're going to have some people that are going to refer you 5 people a year. You're going to have people that maybe refer you once every 3 years. Right? Yeah. Well, let's just say on average, maybe it's 2. So now you go from 80, so 40, 80. You go. So if every client is roughly worth $120,000, right? And you could have. Let's say you're selling 20 homes a year. Just say you sold 20 homes in 1 year to all brand new clients. Now they're worth $2.4 million to you. Just from that 1 year, if you actually nurtured your database. But do you see something too where it said 88% of clients would and only 12% do? You see that 80-20 kind of there too? Why do you think that is? Probably because, like most agents, 80% probably didn't keep in contact with them. Yeah. And the 20% do. Now, really savvy agents will also start contacting the others because they know that. They call them orphan homeowners. So if they list a house, now they're going to start marketing to that homeowner. Because they're going to be like, oh, they remember us, and they probably had a good experience because they saw the sign out there. And 3 years down the road, they're probably going to forget that they actually worked with the other guy. They're going to think they worked with me, and so they're going to use me. Yeah. So do you think your database is powerful? Right, lifetime value. So you need to start seeing people as a client and not just a one-time customer. Right, and so that stat is very powerful because can you imagine, and this is what happens too, 10 years down the road, that person uses somebody else, the agent sees it on Facebook, right? And they're like, what the heck? I can't believe they didn't like think about me every single night, like about how great of an agent I was, and I can't believe they wouldn't use me again. And it's like, you didn't even care enough to even give them a call. That probably not even once a year. Right? So that's what it's about. And I think Dave, and look, different people have different methodologies, but I believe that me personally, one of the best marketing strategies ever is just to care. And so you got to remember that your client is going to believe that you don't care when you don't call. When you don't stay in contact with them, they're going to be like, they don't care. Like I was just a paycheck to them. Right? Like no one wants to think I was just a paycheck to them. Right? Do you think somebody who thinks you're just a paycheck, they were just a paycheck, do you think they're going to refer a lot of people?
One of my client, I was in touch for like 8-9 months. Not because I didn't, I'm really bad at this. Like you have to go and do it, and she emailed me and said, hey, we love our house, not that we want to sell our house, but let's have a coffee. I wanted to die. Honestly.
Yeah, see, that's a great opportunity to, first of all, connect. So there's a book, I think there's a book called like Never Do Lunch Alone, right? And the whole idea is that you're constantly networking with people, right? So you could, because you, what if that coffee meant 2 other pieces of business for you?
Yeah.
Would you do it? If it just meant 1 piece of business, if it meant a referral, would you go out to coffee with them?
Of course.
Yeah, you'd probably cartwheel all the way there, right?
They have like 5 kids. I'm so like, it's just you see sometimes you're good in something and bad in something. I'm really bad. Like I love them. I really help them and do everything for them. But it just, you have to be in touch with them, and I'm very big.
A lot of most agents are.
Yeah, I have to.
It's powerful, right? And you can set boundaries. Like, don't be afraid to set boundaries. Yeah, I'd love to grab coffee. I have about 20 minutes on this day at this time. But I'd love to like grab coffee and catch up, see how everything's going. Right? You just time block the time because I'm in, I have a lot of other appointments, but you're very important to me. And I'll take great care of anybody else you'll send to me.
Just the one that I know more and I see them, that's easier because you see them anyways. But the one that you just don't have a lot of them.
I know, it's part of the business that build that relationship. I will tell you, pretty much everybody in this business has to do stuff that's uncomfortable to them. The more willing you are to be uncomfortable, the more successful you'll be. Like, let me tell you that again. Like, the more willing you are to be uncomfortable, the more successful you'll be. Like, that is 100% guaranteed because most people, comfort tells them what to do. So what do you think most people do? Hop on a couch, eat some ice cream. Like, I could be lead genning, but like Netflix is way better. Like, I'm just gonna I still need to see the whole, like, I watched 1 episode and there's 15 more in the season. I might as well crush it all out today, right? We'll call it time blocking. Right? That's not what you want to do. Don't be dictated by comfort. Be dictated by your goals. Be dictated by your schedule. Right? So make a system. Like, just hold yourself accountable. I'll tell you, here's the honest truth is most of the time you don't get even in contact with people on the phone in your database. You just leave a message. And they're busy. And just,
Hopefully they don't have
yeah. That's right. Yeah, it happens. Yeah, Gary.
I know you use Line Desk and we have EDge. Is there anything is there a campaign in either that you can set up like a call system? Because if the average time to contact or if the average response is like 7 times, well, I've called people 3 days ago. I called new people 2 days ago. I called new people today. I want to re-contact them. Is there a process or system in these CRMs where you can call one day and then it'll auto remind you next week to call them again?
Yeah. So, and a lot of this, I don't know about EDge. I think Line Desk has this, and a lot of other ones do. I use a physical calendar because that's just like who I am. Like it's easier for me to carry around me. I'm kind of old school that way. But I know like at LionDesk and a lot of other ones, you can actually set up customized campaigns. Where like when you're logging in on your day, it will tell you like you need to call this person. And so like then you put them into that bucket of like they're on this campaign. They're going to get an email here, then it's remind me to call them here. Okay. And there you go. Yeah, but by the way, a lot of CRMs you can try out free for like 30 days. And see how you like it. Right? Some are going to be a little more user friendly than others. Some are more expensive, cheaper than others. You often do get what you pay for. So it's just the balance of that. Awesome. One of the videos we're going to learn real quick. Go through real quick. Just talking about the database.
Her database to lead generate. Because her contacts are organized, she is able to make effective calls that yield results.
Hello, Mr. Smith. This is Nancy from Keller Williams Realty. How are you today?
You can see that because she took time to build, organize, and nurture her database, her business is growing and becoming profitable.
Okay, so you're not moving. Is there anyone else who is? I wanted to talk to you about the inquiry you put in online for a new home. Yes. Well, can we meet at 2 o'clock on Tuesday? I'll put you down in my books. Thank you so much.
Here is Nancy. She doesn't think she needs a database. She has a system. Watch as she tries to lead generate.
Hello, Mr. Smith. Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Johnson. This is Nancy. We met a couple weeks ago. You moved a month ago. Gosh, I'm so happy for you. I'm so sorry. Okay. Well, is there another time we can talk?
As you can see, an organized database is your most valuable business asset. A powerful database produces productive and predictable leads. The results speak for themselves.
So you guys thinking having an organized database is important?
Here we have Nancy.
I think that video convinced me out of it.
I mean, you literally talk to the most successful people, and they'll always say, like, it ultimately comes back to database. And I'm sure you're going to hear that quite a bit in this class. So just remember that when you have people in your database, you have people that you can actually call. Hopefully they're people that like you, trust you, and would use you. And again, you can have, you can cipher through that and find out what to do. And by the way, just curious, if you had a friend or relative looking to buy a house or sell a house, do you have an agent that you'd be willing to refer them to? And a lot of times, oh, no, great. I'd love to be that person. Would that be okay with you? Awesome, right? And you go through that script, right? Remember what Dave said? Hey, I'll go out of my way, make you look like a rock star.
What is that script, Jonathan?
That Dave used?
No, the one you're using right now.
That was, well, basically, so you can look up anywhere, right? So I would just basically say, hey, some people call it, what do they call it? The Brian Buffett is like different forms of it, but basically you're basically pre-qualifying your database.
I like that specific one. Is that in Brian?
I don't know. Which one?
The one that you just were role-playing with yourself right there. 4 seconds.
I role-play with myself,
Yeah.
That's right. I don't know if that one's in Brian Buffett or not. I've just heard things from it, and I've just taken it and used it myself. So it was kind of the one that I use.
Sure.
So
yeah, Brian Buffett does the oh by the way. He always like makes sure like the last thing that he says, oh by the way, this isn't for anything.
Yep.
And he's like, that's the best way to do it because then it doesn't make it look like that was your only goal. It's like the very end thing you do. It's like, oh yeah, and then people are like, oh yeah, of course.
Yep. Yeah, I use oh by the way a lot too, and I didn't even know it was from Brian Buffett.
Oh, yeah.
My coach told me to use it. Right? So I was like, oh by the way, have you thought about moving? Like maybe when you're door knocking, so it doesn't look like that's what you were thinking of doing. It's amazing what oh by the way can do. And oh by the way, I was just curious. If you had a friend or relative looking to buy a home or sell a home, do you have an agent that you'd be willing to refer them to? No, I don't. Great. Or maybe they say, yeah, I do. Awesome. Great. Well, maybe if something doesn't work out with them, could I be your number 2? Awesome. And you just take it from there. So, especially people like past business, and then you teach them how to give you a referral, right? hey, great, this is the way that you should, I find usually is the best way to give referrals is just to ask them, hey, can I make an introduction, to my agent for you? I would love to do that. That way, say that way, Scott, when you don't just give them my card and they just at a weak moment, they forget to call me and then at a weak moment they use a weak agent. That way we can just get connected and I can make sure that they get taken care of all the way throughout the entire process. How does that sound to you? And they say, yeah, great, right? Because you want their contact information. You don't want them just giving your contact information away, because it is true that most of the time, does anybody here lose business cards or contact information or go, oh, I'll get to it later, right? Especially anybody who has kids, I know that's like what happens, right? Like, I've been meaning to call them and all the intentions of the world to call them, and I just forgot to call them. And then I happened to be walking through an open house, and the agent said, and he seemed nice, and so I used him, and then I was like, oh man, he was terrible. Like, didn't negotiate for me at all, or he didn't actually fight for me, or he didn't know what he was doing. Obviously, he wasn't working with Keller Williams, right? So important. All right, so I know we were talking about sources that haven't met, and this is on page 20. So we were talking about that, right? Like, what are things you can do? So they say your neighborhood or geographic farms, sports team mailing lists. They say household worship rosters, club organization membership lists, LinkedIn contacts, Facebook, Twitter, blog followers. Geographic farms, right? That's just a targeted neighborhood that you're going for. I'm not a fan of just grabbing like random lists of like people, like of friends, or like I wouldn't go to my church and like just grab a random list of people and start like dripping. Like I would never do that, right? That's my own personal thing. Like if you feel totally comfortable doing that, I guess you can do it. My preference, especially in those, we built a lot of our business on Sphere. More of my closer sphere, I try to make it very apparent. This is true. Like I don't make friends. I don't try to get money from, I don't try to use friends for money to make money. I try to use my money to make friends, if that makes sense. And I really believe that people feel that and sense that when people feel like you're trying to just befriend them just to like, does anybody here do an MLM by any chance, or ever done one? MLM, multi-level marketing. I don't do them like for a business, but I have a ton of MLM products, right? Has anybody heard of an MLM, multi-level marketing? It's people call them pyramid schemes, right? Whether it be like Amway or Advocare, or it's basically network marketing, right? So like I've met a lot of people who do network marketing, and some people crush it, and some people don't do anything at all. But what I've actually found is the people who don't do well at all, they can almost sense like they only want to be friends with you, like because they want to make money off you, and then once they realize they can't make money off you, like they don't want to be your friend anymore.
So many more.
Yeah, there's a lot of people like that, right? No, I appreciate the engagement. There's a lot, and then you're like, now when that happens, and somebody says, "Man, I've been looking for this thing," do you ever think, "Oh yeah, I'll pass your name to them"? No, you're like, I'm keeping my friends away from you as like far as possible, right? Because my reputation's on the line. Does that make sense? Yeah. So again, you can do it however you want. I just believe, especially in a place like a church or synagogue, I would just tread lightly, if that makes sense. So, and plus, it's like even Dave said, there's like five other, like when in a synagogue, there's like 5 other realtors. Yet he's the one that's getting all the business, and he's the one who actually cares. I don't know if the other ones don't care or not, but that's when people work with people they know, like, and trust, and people that they believe actually care about them. And so I really believe that people sense that. Like if you just want to use them for money, or if you actually want to use you can use your business to make friends, not use your friends to make business.
Not just money, using them.
Yeah, using them, because they feel used, right? They don't feel actually cared about. But if they feel cared about, they'll fund your business.
So, I mean, that's one thing where it's like, all right, my volleyball group, that's a huge group. I mean, we have very wealthy individuals there. We have people my age who can't buy a home. I'm going to go out and play volleyball with them either way, but I kind of want to start talking to them about real estate. I want to ask them like, hey, because they all have different communities that they work in. They have different places they work. I want to be like, hey, if anyone wants your job that's looking to buy, like, let me be that rock star and make you look really good and be their agent. Yeah. But I don't want I've always felt like I never want my friends to feel like I'm using them all of a sudden. if I start touching them 33 times a year and doing all this other stuff, they're gonna be like, wow, Jonathan just wants money from me. Blah,
So
blah,
here's the
blah.
thing, before putting them into your 33 touch, maybe you ask permission to send them information. Hey, would you mind if I gave you timely information? Like, I never want to bombard you. Like, I just want you to know that I'm here for you and help people. A lot of people find this helpful. Right? It's all, I mean, literally, it's all about the way you approach it. Like, you can still talk to all those people at business. It's just all about the way you approach it. Are you approaching it in a natural way that it comes up and, like, you sound passionate about your job and also know, like, dude, I didn't know you were in real estate. Like, you know, ultimately, what do people usually ask? Just 1 second, sorry, I'll see you. Like, what do people usually ask? Like, when you first meet, what do you do?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a realtor. Like, no one's gonna work with you, dude. I'm a realtor, and I absolutely love my job. Oh, awesome. Tell me more about that. You know.
Yeah, but them is pretty cool. They were Facebook friends, a lot of them. So they're like, hey, congratulations, when I first got it. And now, like, each week, did you sell a home yet? Did you sell a home yet? It's like working on it.
Yeah, if they're asking, you can say, hey, my goal is to hit, you know, sell 24 homes this year. So, you know, I love the fact that you care about my business that much. What will mean the most is if you next time you find somebody who's looking to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate, if you'd be willing to put us, you know, do a quick introduction for us, I'd really appreciate it. I'd be more than happy to give you a big thank you for that.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense? Another thing with the database, when you get a referral, I highly suggest rewarding the action of the referral. Right? Like, you don't do it upon closing. Like, you know, take them out to dinner. Maybe buy them a Starbucks gift card. Maybe coffee bean if you like that better. Like, whatever it is, right? Do something because you're going to reward the action. And you're, again, reminding them whether this person closes or not. I'm just very thankful for the fact that you thought of me when your friend decided to buy or sell a home. And so I just wanted to let you know. I know you don't do it for the Starbucks gift card, but I wanted to let you know that I really appreciate you, and I think you deserve it anyway, so have a coffee. Does that make sense? Justin?
I was just going to say, if you have, you know, say, so many contacts, going back on the, you know, friend who's only there when they want business from you thing. If you have people that you're contacting during the 33 touch that you did not previously contact before, how, and you know, there's so many people that you want to truly act like a friend and also ask for the business. How can you actually try to spend time with any one of these, you know, hundreds of contacts that you have effectively? Is that just time blocking 20 minutes for them here and there?
Totally. Absolutely. Time block, right? The whole idea of never do lunch alone.
Yeah.
How about every day go on a, you know, coffee date to rekindle a relationship just to catch up. Right. And then inevitably it's going to come up, by the way, what are you doing? Oh, awesome. You know, I don't know if you know, I'm actually in real estate. Just started, by the way, in an awesome group. And so if you know anybody, like, do you know anybody, you know, whatever it is, you progress it into there. Right? Like, because you probably go, I mean, or go to coffee, right? Like, if that's cheaper, like, I'm thinking like cost efficiency, right?
Oh yeah, of course. Just trying to like find the best way to ask them for business and showing them that I still care as a friend.
So here's the other thing too, and this is again a little off topic, guys. So I apologize, but I really believe this is gonna be useful for you guys. A lot of it too is language matters, right? If you just say like, I want your business, like, do you know, like, that's gonna be less powerful than like saying, you know, like using a word. So I've been using the word referral for a long time. Leah, do you guys know who Leah is? She's kind of in the office. She's awesome. But she uses a system called by Joe Stump called by referral only, and like they use the word introduction. Sounds a lot less aggressive, right?
Yeah, right.
You know, hey, just, you know, love an introduction. That's a lot more powerful than, you know, like to them now they feel like, oh yeah, like, I mean, it's just weird subconsciously. It's like the same thing when I go on a listing presentation. A lot of the scripts say contract. I never say contract. I say paperwork.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, it's contract's way scarier, but like, hey, let's go ahead and let's take care of the paperwork. And that's what it is. It is paperwork. And frankly, if somebody doesn't really want to use me, I'll let them get out of it. Like, I don't care. That's me. That doesn't have to be you. So, anyways, when you get a contact, obviously, one of the things too is you can offer, like if you're reconnecting with them, letting them know, you can just say your first contact could be, you know, giving them the application, right? Just being useful. remembering that you're coming from contribution. So just think like every contact you have with somebody, how can I come from contribution? How can I add something so valuable into their life that they're going to want to give me business? So that when I ask for business, it's not aggressive. It doesn't seem like that's the only thing, you know. That's what you could say. Oh, by the way, you know, I really appreciate, you know, appreciate your time. Oh, by the way, we have a goal of selling 12 more homes this year by the end of the year. So I was just curious if you know anybody, maybe at work or volleyball, that maybe think about buying or selling a home in the next 6 months. No, great. I really appreciate you taking time to think about that. And if you do, would you be willing to go ahead and just maybe do a quick introduction? I'd really appreciate being more than happy to give you a big thanks. Great. Awesome, right? Yeah. Simple as that.
When you talk to someone randomly, like the guy in gas station, and you know, they talk, start talking, whatever, and then you give them the card, would you take their number too, or just you give them a card?
I'll tell you what, if they were thinking about buying a home or selling a home, I would for sure try to get their information. Yeah. Because what happens with most people with cards? They lose them now. Hey, if it's either giving them your card or not doing anything at all, give them your card, right? Like, because.
Never ask them for like.
Yeah, like so you might have the question of like, so this guy, Dave, like he goes through his whole questions of, you know, like, hey, how's a lot? And then just through those questions, he's kind of feeling them out. Like it's just really soft feeling them out of like, I mean, usually it comes, oh yeah, I've been thinking about buying a house. And they're like, awesome, great. That's phenomenal. Are you working with are you working with an agent? No, I haven't even thought about it. Oh, that's awesome. I don't know if you know, but I'm actually an agent. I'm actually an expert in the area. And I would love to help you out on the purchase of your house. We've helped a lot of people in the past year. It'd be great to make sure you're in the hands of someone like me, who's a strong agent who can negotiate on your behalf. You know, first thing we typically do is set up a meeting, and you're like, oh, well, you know, I'm still 6 to 9 months out. That's perfect. You know, I actually meet with a lot of our clients 6 to 9 months out. You know, to make sure we actually get them on the path of a successful real estate transaction. That way they avoid all the pitfalls that most people normally do because they back up the process. So would this week work for you? You know, they go from there. Right, like probably 9 times out of 10, they're not going to think about buying or selling a home. But shoot, if you all you have to do is just say hi to somebody, even in a grocery store line, just chat up conversations, and it seems natural. Like that's a big thing about those conversations. It needs to seem natural, like not sound like that's what you're going for. They're going to be much, you know, they feel much more, they're going to feel much more comfortable. They're going to want to work with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Also, and better than the card now is send them your mobile app.
Yeah.
Because if it's especially at the gas station, you have to either send it through email or text message. So right then and there you have, and I've done that with the wall door knocking. I have like several people's phone numbers or emails just because hey, I don't have my business card, I ran out. Let me give you my mobile app. Yeah, or you say, hey, by the way, have you ever been curious about driving past someone's house? And they're like, yeah, how much that house is worth? And they go, yeah, all the time. Great, I actually have a great application for that. And I can just text it to you right now. And don't worry, like, you know, and if you have any questions, you can just seriously say, ask agent, it'll come right to me, I'll answer your question. Be happy to send that your way, right? So there you go. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm using Zillow. Oh yeah. You know, we have a love and hate relationship with Zillow. You know, like a lot of agents like it because they sell buyers information. I don't know if you knew that, sell buyers information to agents. A lot of agents love it. I don't like it personally because there's a lot of bad information on there. And the last thing I like dealing with is clients who've been fed bad information by a bad site. And so I actually have an application. It's called the KW app. It actually connects directly to the MLS. And I'd be happy to send that your way to make sure, just no matter what you do, that you actually have the right information and good information so that whatever decision you make, you'll be successful in that. Does that make sense? That was better than any script I've read for the app so far.
There you go. Right. I mean, okay, but here's the thing about scripts, guys. It all gets back to having a friendly conversation and being a professional. The more you practice scripts, the more you practice handlers. If you're going to practice any script, practice objection handlers, and then you just have friendly conversation, and you'll be more well-spoken. Always think about every conversation you have. You know what radio station everybody tunes into?
WIIFM.
Yeah.
Zig Ziglar would say, what's in it for me?
Yeah, what's in it for me? So when you're talking about, so what that means is, right, WIIFM, right? Everybody wants to know what's in it for me. So if you approach your conversation understanding that the person you talk to is curious about what's in this conversation for me, that's going to guide your conversation much better than like, hey, like I'm a really important agent. I'm like really awesome. Like, did you see my high school prom photo that's on my business card? Like, check it out. Like, yeah, like you're wearing 80s clothes. Yeah, I know. I look great. And you're like, terrible, right?
Yeah, that was I think my biggest aha for Dave's was he said, talk about them, not yourself.
Yep.
So that you're showing that you care.
Honestly, the more you care about them, the more you talk to them, the more better information you're going to get anyways on them. And like to feed your database, to understand them better, to understand their needs. Most people don't want to ask those questions. Most people don't want to pre-qualify their people because they don't want to know the answer. Because they're afraid that like, oh, I don't. What I mean by that is when we're talking about the whole bad leads, good things, a lot of times people don't want to find out that they're a bad lead because then it like crushes them. It's like, this is a bad lead. Like, and I don't like, the more I go along in my ignorance, the better I feel, the more comfortable I am on the inside about this lead. And so then I can avoid the other activities I need to do, like lead generating. Does that make sense? But really, like this is, and I had to get so much better on this. Again, you look at someone like Sam Rasool, that guy pre-qualifies the crap out of people. Like, if he doesn't know, he can get like a listing contract. He probably won't call it, presentation. And he'll find out as much as he can to whittle that down, versus wasting his time on a listing presentation. Now, I'm not just saying that you shouldn't go on a listing presentation now, because it's like if anything else, it's practice, right? But for someone like him at a high level, he tries to disqualify people as best as he can. Right, like a lot of agents, like especially when you want everybody to be the buyer and seller, so you're trying to like convince them to be the buyer and the seller, rather than understand like, look, most people aren't buying or selling a house right now, and that's totally okay. So what can I do to disqualify them so that I can focus on my 20% that's going to get me 80% of my results? Make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. So if you look on page 29, it talks a little bit about the 8x8 and 33 touch. Remember, so like this is like an example, right, of the 33 touches. A lot of times you think 33 touches would be insanely bombarding. But when you think about it, it says a combination of 14 mailings, letter, cards, emails, or drop-offs. And then 8 thank you or thinking of you cards. 3 phone calls, or maybe a lot of people do like 4 phone calls. And then 4 personal observant cards, birthdays, anniversaries, Mother's Day, Father's Day, purchase anniversary. And then 4 holiday cards. Does that sound so bad to you guys?
Wow.
No, you're like, yeah, they really care. Like they give you like a birthday card, Thanksgiving card. Like that doesn't, that's all of a sudden, like when you was like, that's all 33 touches is, or maybe that you can do it to 36. You don't feel bombarded all of a sudden, because now if you call them every single week, they may feel bombarded. But if you call them 4 times a year and you combine that with some thinking of you cards, like, hey, just thought of you, I like you, right? Like just the I like you card. I think you're, right? I mean, like, so you might not say I like you, like you might say, I might say, hey Scott, just wanted to write you a card to say that we think you're amazing and really appreciate you as a client. Boom, Jonathan and Teresa. Do you think he's gonna like getting that card? Now, as an agent, he might not, right? But if he were my client, I guarantee he'd probably like. And like, who doesn't like to get something like that? Really simple and easy to do. So that talks about the 8x8 33 touch. Thinking about items of value, page 30. What items do you think would be valuable to contacts?
Value their home. People love to know what their home's worth.
People like to know what their home's worth, so usually people like to know like what homes are selling for in the area.
I really like the business-to-business idea.
Business-to-business idea? What's the business-to-business idea?
Like going to a business saying, I'm going to give you free marketing on a flyer I'm handing out if you give people that I hand this out to 15% off a meal or something. That's like the most immediate value.
Okay, you mean like a coupon or something like that? Right. Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's just basically stoking up a business relationship. You do a phone call. Hey, by the way, I don't know if you heard, but we have another friend or client. They actually do this, and he said like, hey, like I'd be happy to offer 15% off. So yeah, that could be an item of value. Yeah. Right, like a discount to something.
Yeah, I think that would probably get used the most.
Yeah.
If it's good for restaurants, like.
Possibly, right? So people went to the restaurant and be like, toss it in. Yeah. Anything else? What else could be? Gary.
Unique market trends, like
Yeah.
So, hey, 8 houses in your area sold for 30 grand more than asking price. Thought that'd be useful for you and your friends.
Yeah.
For you and your neighbors.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thought that'd be great. Good thing to know. Right. What that means is that home values are going up. And I don't know if you heard, but we're actually, does this sound familiar to you? Right? So that you just bring it into like, okay, now what else can I offer you of value? Right? But just talking to people, like thinking about what can I do? What can I give? Like, don't think about what I can get from people. Think about what you can give to people when you think of your database. Now you want to think, what can I do to get people into my database? But what can I give those people once I get them into my database? The more value you bring, the better you're going to be. Right? The more value that you bring, the less they're going to see you like a commodity. Does everybody know what a commodity is? It's like, it's like a widget, right? It's the same for everybody. So you don't want to be that commodity. You want to be a rarity. You want to be the person who's like, no, this person's awesome. They're great. And so that when they do think about buying or selling, they're going to be like, I would never think of using anybody but Jonathan. Like, he's been with me this whole time. He's been nothing but professional. He's always like, he's just such a nice guy. He's just bringing me that value all the time. Right? They're not going to think the value part in their head, but like subconsciously, they're just like, man, he's just like, he's so giving, man. He's such a generous person. Why wouldn't I want to work with someone like that versus all these sketch balls running around with realtor license, right? Because, by the way, most people don't think real estate agents are very trustworthy people. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah. I think it's like politicians, lawyers, realtors, and then used car salesmen. So we're actually less trusted than used car salesmen.
More fun are the cars.
Yeah, right. Can you believe that? So you were worried about the car. Most people are scared about. So you see why people don't want to do the open house sign-in sheet now, or they give you bad information. Right. So just remember that when you're doing it, your whole goal is to stay top of mind. You guys know what top of mind is? When you think of a running shoe company, what do you think? Who said Adidas? Like the one person were you only doing it to be a jackwagon?
No,
okay. For you?
I like Adidas then.
Okay. But like, notice what 90% of the people said. Nike. Right? They're top of mind. Yeah, I mean, but it's funny when you start thinking about usually what happens is you ask people top of mind and you ask them their second. Usually they're much slower to get their second, and once you get down to like 3 or 4, like if you put people on the spot, like they get like, I don't know. That's what most people think of. Like as a realtor, you want to be that very top. You want to be the Nike, right? They're seeing you all the time. And by the way, you only brand with your database. Don't brand to anybody else. It's a waste of money. Absolute waste of money. You'll go broke doing it.
What do you do by that?
Putting your name on a billboard ain't going to get you no business. It's going to cost a lot of money, and it's not going to give you any business, likely. Right? But you brand the crap out of your database. Meaning your METs, your MET group, or even your target haven't met, right? You might brand those people. You're not going to be branding to the general public. The companies that do that, the Nike, the Adidas, the Coke, those are like multi-billion-dollar corporations. Most people getting into real estate, like they're stoked if they're making like $100K a year, right? Like you just don't have the marketing budget to do that. So, all right. So preparing for your next class, remember that we have the mission. So go into the book, or not the book, online. Check out the mission. Make sure you guys do everything. Let's see what we have for the mission. We have it up here. All right, so mission for Power Session 3. This will be Monday. I highly suggest doing it sooner rather than later, not waiting until the day up. Daily 10-4, catch up on anything you didn't do from Mission 2. Watch these videos, KW Technology Setup, creating new marketing campaigns is going to teach you how to do that. And of course, watch Internet Lead Generation. Find your business with lead generation. So then of course, follow up with the previous section. So last couple minutes. What are the benefits of a database?
Keep it organized. Way to communicate with your clients.
Yeah, but possible clients, past clients, people, you know, people who generally are going to like you, trust you better than the general public, right? Why is it important to put everyone in your database on a campaign? Basically like a 33 touch.
So no one's cracked.
So no one's supposed to be cracked, right? So people remember you and you're not like forgetting. Right? If your drunk monkey's going to tell you like, don't talk to these people because I don't like talking to them as much as I like talking to these people. But it's funny, like actually sometimes those are the people that are going to give you business. Right? What is an 8x8 campaign and when do you use it? So raise your hand and tell me.
8 touches in 8 weeks, then it's for the just met people.
Yep, exactly. Just met 33 touch. What is it and when do you use it? Anybody know? Scott?
So 33 times a year after your finished big play.
Yep, 33 times a year, and that's a combination of what?
Emails, phone calls, handwritten notes.
Whatever way to touch them, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's called a touch. Awesome. All right, ahas. Any particular ahas that you guys had?
I had one more from Dave, actually, was when he was talking about that person he said, he's like, oh, they had a brother or something, or sister in real estate, and then he was like, he didn't even go with her. I was thinking that same thing. I was like, oh, if these people already have something, like, why would I even go talk to them about it? And then once he said that, I was like, oh, dang, that's a whole lot of people that, like, an extra person that could potentially go with you. So,
Yeah. Right, because it's just assumed, like he assumed.
yeah.
Rather than having that conversation, you go, oh no, my sister's in real estate and I'd only use her. She'd be like, oh great, I totally forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the reason I ask anyways is sometimes people like they don't want to work with family. So I'm really glad about that. Now, by the way, if you had a friend, you know, someone outside of your immediate family that was looking to work with, do you send them to your sister or are you looking for somebody else? Yeah, the only reason I work with my sister is because like it's a family obligation, but man, I would never use her or send her at all, like to anybody else, because I know she's terrible, right? But I just do it just for the political family dynamics, right? Like they might not say all that, but that happens, and then they say, and then all of a sudden they're sending everybody else your way, or maybe they say, no, I send everything to my sister. Awesome, great, thank you so much, really appreciate your time, you know, whatever, blah blah blah, out of the database, right? Any other ahas in the last minute? Good to go. All right. Well, guys, do this up tomorrow. Enhance your learning. Go on to KW Connect. Do all that. There's additional videos that you can watch. Check them out. Have a good one.